we go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio and your electronic devices around the world. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. How's everybody? Last Friday when I was up in New York City, and Carlos with a K was ever so kind to give me a tour of the big city radio station, y'all, and introduced me to the boys of the DA show and the FAN shows. I don't know if I mentioned, did I tell you I met Boomer Esiason while I was there?
You did not mention that at all.
Met Boomer very briefly in passing. He was very kind as well. When I got the opportunity to go up there, and I said, Carlos, I got a question for you. I don't want to impede on your airtime, but do you mind if I sit in on the first 15 of my show? And he goes, yeah, man, no problem. I said, yeah, I just want to say I've hosted a show from New York City. And he said, yeah, no worries, come on up. So I did. And while we were doing that, and while I was having the conversation with Lonzo from a distance, Carlos opened the show, Lonzo, like I do. And I feel like I'm allowed to call myself an influencer now. I feel like I have influenced Los. And now Carlos with a K has got a little bit of that Rob Brown Show dog in him.
Have you ever listened to the show from the beginning when you're not here?
Not the beginning. I pop in off and on as it goes, but I've never heard him open the show before. All
right, so I'm not trying to burst any bubbles or anything, but I think he just did it because you were in the room. I think he just did it because you're in the room. Because normally he doesn't do that.
That checks out. Well, I felt good about myself for a second, but no more.
No, you influenced him while you were in the room. I mean, that's still influencing someone, isn't it?
Then I am, by definition, ladies and gentlemen, an influencer. I've made it. Look, Ma, I made it.
All right, next time you're off and I'm not off and he's filling in, I will let you know if he does it again.
Okay, perfect. Don't tell him I'm listening for it.
Okay, I won't.
Steven said, first question of the day, do you guys keep your ketchup in the refrigerator or the pantry after you open it in the fridge?
Yeah, I think it even says on the bottle that you're supposed to do that. Yeah.
Refrigerate after opening. It's got to go in the fridge. That being said, while you brought up ketchup, without knowing this is a reality, Lonzo sent me a tweet last night. Apparently, coming up at Chase Field in Phoenix and Yankee Stadium in New York City, as well as Target Field in Minneapolis and Comerica Park in Detroit. On the 4th of July, if you are to attend a Major League Baseball game in any of those four stadiums, you will have the opportunity, should you wish, to try Pepsi's Cola Chup. Pepsi has rolled out a limited time, I assume great one, ketchup that tastes like Pepsi. Or kind of like, I don't know. Rob Brown's a try anything once guy. I'll eat almost anything once. The list of things I won't try, I have tried. I know it's got people all up in their feels. Yo, I have tried grilled cricket. It's fine. It's like a crunchy little potato chip, right? I have tried in the past Rocky Mountain, Colorado oysters. Now, in fairness, the old man didn't tell me what they were before I ate one. It was a habit of that. First time I ate calamari was because the old man told me it's Italian onion rings. And I went for that too. Turns out I was an idiot as a kid. But what are you going to do? I'm an idiot now.
How are you an idiot to trust your father and not question? I mean, that's
why. That's why.
No. Come on,
why.
man. That's loyalty. That's someone you love. They're not going to do you wrong. And if they do, it was just kind of a joke or a way to persuade you to get past the psychology of a child who believes, oh, I'm told that's nasty, so it must be.
I have been told by dads that the best part of being a dad is screwing with your kids when they're growing up. And mine did. In fairness, I'm glad it did because it kind of brought me to this I'll eat anything thing. I'll try anything once. I don't think, Zoe, that I'm getting down with Pepsi-flavored ketchup. It's not happening.
All right, first of all, I'm interested. And second of all, it's not screwing with your kids. It's instructing them with psychology. That's all it is.
Screwing with the kids with a lesson attached.
Well, that's not. A lesson is not necessarily screwing with your kids. It's teaching them something, teaching them how to get past society's way of saying, like kids saying, oh, broccoli's nasty. So you've never had broccoli, but all the other kids say it's nasty. So in the child's mind, broccoli's nasty. So you call broccoli something else. You've never seen broccoli. You taste it, find out it's good. Then you realize that the power of the mass mind is not the way to go. It's better to think individually and come up with your own opinions on things.
I'm not eating Pepsi flavored ketchup. It's not happening.
Oh, come on.
It's not happening. It's not happening. We have learned our lessons, though, you and I both, many times on the air, that sometimes flavor combinations that you expect to be horrid work unexpectedly. They work. Pepsi and ketchup, my brain can't comprehend the possibility of those two flavors dancing together successfully. I just can't see it.
So you've never had ketchup on a hot dog and then taken a drink of your Pepsi while the food's still in your mouth?
Yes, but that is ketchup and hot dog followed by a brief break, followed by Pepsi.
But no.
It's not all at the same time.
There's no break there. If the food is still in your mouth and you take a drink to wash it down, then you've had Pepsi and ketchup mixed already.
I don't know, man. I'm skeptical at the very best. Nathan said, do you leave your butter out? If we are using the butter while we're eating, yes. But Nathan, butter is always in the fridge except for when it's on the table during dinner. And as soon as dinner's over, it is the first thing to go back in the fridge. When the lady friend and I are done eating, if we have included a stick of butter in the meal, the butter is the first thing off the table and back in the fridge every time.
I think it's a Southern thing. My grandma left the butter out.
Like just all the time, just left it out.
Yeah, I think it may go back to back in the old days before they had these things called refrigerators and freezers.
Yeah, back before we had things called cars, people rode horses. But then we went, there's a better way.
No, you're right. There's right.
a better way.
But some traditions don't die.
What's a tradition that should die?
There are a lot of them. I just want to say, if butter doesn't go bad, why has it got an expiration date on it?
Put your butter in your fridge, you sociopaths.
Plus, hot butter is better than cold butter.
I don't disagree with that either.
But
I am big team melted butter. In fact, when we make garlic bread at the house, step one, melt the butter and then brush the butter over the bread. Don't drizzle it. Put it on an egg brush and brush it across the bread. You want the whole surface area of the bread coated in the melted butter. Then you go garlic across the top of it. That's the way to do it. Then you put it in the oven for a few seconds.
Sounds like a lot of effort when you could just buy garlic bread already garlic.
Yeah, it's not the same. There's no love in that, man. You put some love in that bread. All right. Josh said, "How about Pepsi flavor with peanuts?" You ever heard about the Coke bottle peanuts?
Yeah,
I have a Southern thing.
My old bass player would do that all the time. He'd go buy a pack of peanuts and just put it in the Coke, and it's just like, that is so weird.
I've heard of that a million times, Lonzo.
But anyone who does that also enjoys soggy boiled peanuts.
First off, boiled peanuts are one of life's great treasures. All right. One of life's great pleasures and treasures is boiled peanuts. Here's the thing. Do you put the peanuts into I'm assuming it is, drop the peanuts into the Coke, drink the Coke, eat the peanuts? Is that the process?
They do that. And also, while you're taking a drink, I think as you get a little bit lower, you're going to get some peanuts in.
Peanut backwash.
Yeah. You're going to get some of that as you're drinking because, it's not all going to stay down at the bottom.
Are these salted peanuts?
Yes, the ones that I saw, just Planters packs that are hanging in every gas station or whatever. You go in, you get some salted peanuts, you pour them. At least this is what I've seen personally. Never partook of it because it doesn't interest me.
Here's the thing: I love salted peanuts and I love Coke, obviously. But I've had them together.
You
but
see,
never once have
by the way, don't take that out of context. Coca-Cola.
I think we've accepted Coke as the popular vernacular, right? If a dude on the street says, "I love Coke," okay. If a dude on the street yells, "I love Coke," okay. Contextually speaking, if a dude in the middle of downtown yells, "I love Coke," he's probably talking about not Coca-Cola.
Yeah, but Rob, if you show up wobbly to work one day and the boss says, pull this cut, and I pull this clip where it says, I love Coke, then you lose your job. I mean, because there's evidence. So Coca-Cola is what we're talking about.
It's out of context, people. I am going with, I have had salted peanuts my whole life. If you're going to eat peanuts, it is the second best way to consume a peanut, is a salted shelled peanut. The first is a Cajun boiled peanut. I'll go to war on that hill. I love Coca-Cola. But never once have I had salted peanuts and felt compelled to drop them into the Coke. Well, but I know it's very popular.
I mean, you can do that. It's inexpensive. You could actually try this. You could try it on the air.
We might, you know what?
Does it work for a Diet Coke? That's the question. Because I don't want all those calories from a regular Coke. Is it the same thing? Does it have to be a regular Coke?
Yeah, listen, I'm trying to get unfat. All right. I made my first egg white omelet last night. Felt dirty. Felt like I was cheating on eggs.
So many myths. I mean, eggs only have 70 to 80 calories depending on
even with the yolk?
Yes.
Oh.
It says it right on the pack, but
I'll learn something new today.
As someone who counted calories for a really long time and still does to a certain degree, yes.
And not only did I have an egg white omelet, instead of making a 4-egg omelet like I usually do, I just did 2. All right, it was very unsatisfying.
So I'm guessing, I don't know how much you took out of calorie wise, but let's say you took out 20 calories from each egg, just going egg whites. So you had an egg that's like 120 calories. What else did you put in it though?
Cut uncured unsalted ham, very unsatisfying.
Okay, yeah, you just
and peppers.
The salt thing's a myth too, but just about any diet will work if you do it right and you have discipline.
Yeah, I don't do anything right. Texas said, Rob, my ketchup goes in the fridge, but what about restaurants? Those always stay out. Well, I actually worked in a restaurant for a long time, and I will tell you, they are traditionally, most restaurants, refrigerate them overnight and then alternate the bottles during the day. So while you always see them on table, they are usually alternated and replaced when the ketchup bottle gets like down to half, a quarter. They'll pour new ketchup in there out of the refrigerated bottle and shake it up a little bit. I'm not saying it's the best way to handle it, but if you've ever worked in a restaurant and seen what the kitchen of a restaurant works like, you're not super concerned about it. All right? It's just, it's a risk. Chris says, today on the sports show, when there's no sports, we discuss nuts and uses of nuts for an hour. Not an hour, 7 minutes. And it's not even talking about nuts and uses of nuts. We are talking about the old, very Southern tradition of salted peanuts going on Coca-Cola, and the fact that I have lived in the South my entire life and have never been compelled to try it.
Well, most people would say where you live doesn't count. At least people around here would say that you technically don't live in the South because you live in Florida, even though Florida is about as south as you can get.
People who live there say it doesn't count.
Okay, whatever. I don't know why it matters, but it does, apparently.
Did you ever use Coke to clean your car?
The windshield. It does work. It absolutely works.
Really?
Yes.
I've used it to clean my pooper before. The toilet, not. Okay.
Okay.
I regret that sentence as well. I'm just killing the game today. Coke enemas today on the show. I have used Coca-Cola to clean my turlet before. but never the windshield of my car. Learn something new every day.
Yeah, so it was a bird.
2 birds.
Yeah, but they're not real, so I will not acknowledge them.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got a busy day on the radio broadcast for you today. We got a lot to get into, a lot to talk about. We have got Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast joining us coming up in about 20 minutes from right now. We'll talk a little Carolina Panther football as we are now inside of 3.5 weeks away from the beginning of Panther training camp over on the campus of Wofford in the Berg. We got some updates on when and where we will be covering camp. Looking forward to that. We got to get a little Hornets basketball in here on the broadcast. Brandon Miller has started making his appearances as a Charlotte Hornet. And my dude's not lacking confidence out of the gate. So we're going to talk about that coming up later on in the show. The Pac-12 has made a very interesting decision as we wait to see if a new media rights deal is coming down the pipe and how it all impacts further college football expansion. We're going to talk about that later on in the show. And, oh man, y'all, sometimes sports just, you know how if you're in a long-term relationship, you can kind of get comfortable, right? You can kind of get comfortable with your better half and all the romantic lovey-dovey stuff you used to do. After a while, it kind of goes away. But then every now and then, she looks you deep in the eyes and she reminds you of why you fell in love with her. Every now and then, he drops that line on you that makes your heart melt all over again. Baseball did that for me at about 10:35 last night, and I melted and fell in love with the sport all over again. We're going to talk about that coming up later on the show. And, of course, ladies and gentlemen, it's Thursday, and you know what that means. It's time for Fight Club with the great one, Lonzo, coming up today at 11:20. Look, he's popping the neck. He's rolling the shoulder. He's getting loosened up. We take you into the world of beatdowns at about 11:20 this morning. So stay tuned for all of that and a whole lot more coming up on the Rob Brown Show. I'm Rob, the great one, Lonzo's on the ones and twos. And ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, we've got a live read. Stay right there. We will be right back.
let's face it, talking about life insurance is never easy.
I need to test something because whatever Chris did, I can no longer record at all on anything.
Oh,
So let's see if we can actually play something. If we cannot, you cannot use your clip.
Like you said, just
Okay, we can play. You're good.
I couldn't believe how easy it was. We answered a few basic questions, and within minutes, we had an estimate of what it would cost and what sort of policy made sense for us.
I never imagined a life insurance would be so affordable.
And accessible.
The peace of mind knowing that our future is secure, it just removes a lot of the fear.
So I'm trying to decide, do I go to Indiana Jones tonight? Because a lot of people apparently don't like it. But I have an obligation because it is, that kind of movie,
which one?
Indiana Jones,
Oh,
that I need to go and see it, I guess, so I can tell other people whether they should go see it or not. I don't know.
I feel like I have to see it, right? Like Indiana Jones was such a huge part of my growing up. I feel like I'm obligated to see
And
what I assume is Indy's farewell.
didn't see how he dies because Harrison Ford has managed to make all his characters die lately. So maybe he just dies of old age. I mean, or maybe they imply it and don't show it. But. Have you watched any of Secret Invasion yet?
I have not. Is it good?
I'm not saying.
Is it good? You can say it's good without spoiling anything.
I like it.
Okay. Sometimes life is poetry. Sometimes that poetry is crap. Like when you
Why'd you say that and you pointed at me?
I didn't.
Sometimes
I did the general sweep.
No. If you're watching if you're watching on
right,
Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch or Twitter, you saw him point at me
because of what I told you during the break.
Okay,
which I'm about to bring up.
All right, because
Yeah.
I am poetry, but I am not crap.
It's because you. That's true. It's because you're the only person that knows what I'm about to say. The lady friend calls me last night. The Greenville Liberty concluded their season. I was working the play-by-play. And as I'm about to go on the air, the lady friend sends me a picture and she calls me and she goes, "Hey, there's a leak in the roof. There is water that has come through the drywall that is the ceiling of the kitchen." And I said, "Oh, that's bad." She said, "Yep, it's a big spot. It's like 3 spots." I was like, "All right, well." So she climbed up in the attic. She looked. It's the air conditioning unit. The condenser is backed up. There was water falling into the drip tray, but so much water came out that it spilled out onto the roof, onto the ceiling. So she calls the people with the HVAC folks that installed it. She's like, "Y'all got to come fix this thing. It's ruining our ceiling." They're like, "Yep, we'll be by tomorrow, late morning, early afternoon." Cool, great. She calls into her job. She gets permission to work from home so she can be there because it's kind of a big deal. And then she texted me about 15 minutes ago, and she goes, "A transformer blew. We don't have power now." So we got a leaky AC that dripped water into the ceiling that has to be replaced. We got HVAC people on the way to fix it, and a transformer popped in the hood, and we got no power at the house for the HVAC people to use to fix the AC. Sometimes poetry, sometimes crap. Now, that is just me venting. Let me tell you what I'm actually going to talk about here. Yesterday, baseball caught, as somebody tweeted me and called it, heel heat on the show yesterday. We talked a little bit of baseball. And for whatever reason, we got like 11 texts from some of y'all.
Well, I would say 3/4 of the show yesterday was baseball.
89% of the show was baseball yesterday. Like 94% of it. We did a segment of baseball. And the texters, well, okay, let me phrase that. We did one segment of baseball and then like 3 segments of people repeatedly bleeping about baseball.
Which is still talking about
Sure.
baseball. So, I mean.
Not incorrect. A lot of y'all yesterday started bagging baseball. A lot more of y'all started texting to defend baseball. Either way, I asked you the question yesterday. What percentage of the show during the doldrums of sports talk radio season now, what percentage of the show should we talk about baseball? And the average answer, Alonzo, was about 25%, right? Maybe a segment, 2 segments most a day.
I'm nodding, but yes, it's radio. I should say yes.
The average answer, because the majority of the answers were either 10% or around 33%. So average it out to about a quarter of the show should be baseball just during June, July. Well, last night, I get done calling the Greenville Liberty game. I make my way back to the Casa de Love. The lady friend, by the way, with no air conditioning, because we had to turn the AC off last night, obviously, so it wouldn't drain more. So I get back to the Casa de Love. The lady friend is over the day. She's already in bed. Your boy strips down to his tank and boxers and goes into the bro cave and turns on the TV to watch a little baseball. And as I'm sitting down, I get a notification on my phone that Domingo Germán, pitcher for the New York Yankees, is sitting in the 6th inning with a perfect game.
I'm guessing this game wasn't blacked out for you.
This game was not blacked out.
Okay, good.
Perfect game through 6. So I turn it on. I turn it on for the bottom of the 7th. And when you know it, perfect game through 7. And I'm like, oh, this is intriguing. 6 outs away. Perfect game through 8. Domingo Germán has gone 24 up, 24 down. Not a single player has touched a bag yet. And I'm thinking to myself, am I just going to randomly on a Wednesday night in June sit down to watch I hate the Yankees, and watch a perfect game? Because, Lonzo, I've never watched a perfect game at the MLB level. There's only been 24 of them in league history. The last perfect game,
Quite a few of them by the Yankees, right?
4 of them by the Yankees, as a matter of fact. The list of perfect games in recent memory, Domingo Germán last night. The last one was all the way back by Felix Hernandez in August of 2012. They're actually, ironically enough, Lonzo. Nope, not ironically. That's the wrong word. Chris Evans is going to be furious. Interestingly enough, in 2012, there were 3 perfect games. Felix Hernandez did it in August for Seattle. Matt Cain did it in June for San Francisco. Philip Homburg did it for the White Sox in April. I'm not saying I wasn't watching. I can't remember watching any of those games. And it feels like seeing a perfect game is something you'll remember. Previous to that, Roy Halladay and Dallas Braden both had perfect games in 2010. Mark Burley had one in 09. Randy Johnson in 04. David Cohn in 99. David Wells in 98. Kenny Rogers in 94. Dennis Martinez in 91. Tom Browning in 88. And every other perfect game in MLB history, Lonzo, was before I was born. On top of that, as Keegan just pointed out, adequately and correctly so, every other time that a New York Yankee has pitched a perfect game, they have won the World Series in the same year. It's pretty damn impressive. So I sit down on a Wednesday night. I watch bottom 7, 3 up, 3 down. I watch bottom 8, 3 up, 3 down. Domingo Germán, as he rightfully should, goes to the bump, bottom 9. 3 outs stand between he and perfection. Now, as I've mentioned, I'm not a Yankees fan. In fact, quite the opposite. The Yankees are one of 5 or 6 teams in America that I enjoy watching the suffering. I enjoy watching the downfall. I enjoy watching taking L's because they are an entitled fan base. The teams I root against With the exception of the Atlanta Falcons, I consider to have the most entitled fan bases in sports. The Dallas Cowboys, the Miami Hurricanes, the New York Yankees. Entitled fan bases, and I enjoy watching them suffer. It's fun for me because I'm a bad person. Anyway, it's bottom 9 last night. Domingo Germán is on the bump, bottom 9. There's 3 outs left in the heart of the order for the Oakland Athletic. The Yankees are up 11. There's no coming back here. And yet, in a game where there's no coming back, with 3 outs left to play in the bottom of the 9, Zoe, in a house with no air conditioner, in boxers and a tank top, stood up out of my chair, and I watched the last 3 outs, hands on knees, bent over, with just a knot in my gut, because I want to see perfection. Now, I didn't watch the whole game. I watched the last 3 innings.
So does it count? Does it count that you actually saw a perfect game if you didn't watch the entire game?
I'm booking I saw 3 innings, and that's enough because I saw the history part of it, right? I saw the last 9 of the 27 up, 27 down. And I'm standing by myself with the lights out in the bro cave, hands on knees, bent over, feeling like I'm ready to puke over a Yankees game. Team I like seeing lose. Domingo Germán, his last time out, allowed, if I recall off the top of my head, 10 runs in like 2.2 innings pitched. He got booed off the bump by Yankees fans. They booed him out of the game. He comes out last night. He moves past it. He puts the mental block on the Yankees fans. 27 up, 27 down. And I sat there staring at this game. Remember, Domingo, your mom, good call by the texter, got tossed for the sticky stuff earlier in the season as well. Argued it was rosin and sweat like every other pitcher does, but he got bounced. Comes back out last night, passed the sticky stuff test every inning, and threw the perfect game. And I was captivated. I told you guys Monday night. I went out to the bar because I wanted to watch game 2 of Braves Twins and game 3 of the College World Series, LSU in Florida. And I told you I fell in love with baseball all over again because I watched as 32 Little Leaguers were breaking down release point, spin rate, swing plane, exit velocity, launch angle of a Marcelo Zuna dinger. Last night, I got that again, twice in a week. As I sat there and watched perfection, as I watched Domingo Germán excel, mastercraft his way. And again, the Oakland A's are the worst team in baseball. It's them and the Royals. And I can say that now because the boss told me yesterday he knows that's true. So I'm clear. I'm good.
I believe Admiral Akbar said it's a trap.
That's a trap. I fell in love with that sport all over again last night. It was a love letter, man. Not every game has to be 12-10. We don't have to hit the over. I mean, the Yankees did hit their over by themselves, but not every game has to be a slugfest. Mastercrafts like Domingo Germán last night. It was, if you'll pardon the expression, and some of you guys are going to make it weird, but I'm rolling with it anyway. It was romantic as baseball goes. It was baseball at its most pure, baseball at its best. The Oakland A's swinging at everything near the strike zone, trying to not get perfected, and Domingo Germán making them look goofy. It was beautiful. It was art. It was poetry, friends. If you didn't watch it, dude, I don't know what to tell you. It's not like you could have missed it if you're a sports fan. I got like 6 different notifications from every sports outlet that I follow on my phone. Every Sports Center 10 minutes, they're cutting in like Herman's made it through the 5th. He's made it through the 6th. Perfect game out of the 7th. There's no way to miss it. It's just that good. Let's take a break. When we come back, Rashad Beard is the host of the Panther Nation podcast. He's going to join us as we talk a little Carolina football, getting set for training camp over at Wofford just a few weeks away. We'll talk Cats football with Rashad Beard coming up in the next segment of the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. I really enjoyed the canning with Rob. You don't can with Rob. Rob hasn't canned yet.
Yeah, there was perspective canning discussion though. And Keegan.
Rob is eventually going to end up canning.
Keegan, I enjoyed it. There is a character there's a reoccurring character that became my favorite character. So.
On November 30th, the South Carolina men's basketball team, they are going to face off against Notre Dame. That game is scheduled for November 28th at Colonial Life Arena. It'll be the first matchup between these two teams since 1984. While South Carolina women's basketball, they will go to North Carolina.
I can either confirm or deny that, Keegan.
You just got me irrationally excited.
Baseball is in full swing. The free Odyssey app lets you listen to local coverage for the team you love. Live stream your favorite sports radio station or jump back and listen to the best segments on demand.
Don't forget we talk to the manager every Tuesday at 2 p.m.
Don't listen to some guy from the other side of the country tell you about your team. Live conversations for your local team. No matter where you are, your season, your Odyssey. Get in the game and download the free Odyssey app today.
Are you kidding me? Gas prices are up again? Somebody has to do something.
Well, someone did. That's why I use Upside.
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that pays you back real money for every gallon of gas or diesel you buy. I just earned 25 cents back on every gallon of this tank.
Hold on. So the Upside app is free and you actually get cash back every time you use it? No strings attached?
Yep, it's awesome. Check it out. It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up.
Instead of just watching your dollars go into your tank, start putting money back into your wallet with the free app from Upside. With the price of gas today, it's big news and big money. To cash out of your Upside cash, just transfer it to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card. Upside users have already earned over $200 million. Now it's your turn. Download the free Upside app and get cash back on every gallon of gas. Use promo code GOLF for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's code GOLF. Use code GOLF for an extra 25 cents per gallon back in your first fill-up.
Rashad, what's up, fella?
What's up? What's up, guys?
We doing, buddy?
Good. All is well.
Glad to hear it.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in a new language in just 3 weeks.
So, Rashad, would you try Pepsi flavored ketchup?
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
No chance.
Thank you. I will try.
I'm not even
almost
trying the
anything.
ketchup flavored Doritos.
Yeah,
Not doing
ketchup. I've had ketchup flavored Pringles. It's not really that good.
Why would you make a condiment flavored anything?
I tried it just because I wanted to, see what it tastes
The
like.
point of condiments is to enhance other flavors, not be the flavor. I don't eat ranch with a spoon. It goes on stuff. I don't eat.
Well, whoever comes up with the flavors thought, hey, someone may like this, and it convinced the people to actually produce mass quantities of it. I don't know.
You're very wrong.
Do they do test studies on it before they do? I don't know.
Very wrong.
Yeah, not doing that.
Nope. Rashad, I will be up your way for ACC Media Days in about a half a month. I got 3 nights this year, so heads up, we're going to have to get it on.
Yeah, just let me know.
I meant go to the bar, Lonzo.
Your wording today is horrible, man. It's just,
Lonzo's
that was
head
pu-
is just
Yeah,
was
yeah.
pause-worthy,
gutter
but-
right
yeah,
now.
it's me,
In
right?
the gutter.
I'm not the one saying this stuff. You are.
Disgusting.
You are.
Now,
Okay.
if you
Disgusting.
Whatever.
if you said that on my show, that would have been
Robert
pause worthy,
shows on your
but it's
radio.
okay.
It's the Fan Upstate. It's Thursday. We talk Carolina Panther football on Thursday with my guy, Rashad Beard. He is one half of the Panther Nation podcast, which you can find on social media at Panther Nation PC. But more importantly, get at them on YouTube because they go live. They got content constantly coming out, and you're not going to find anywhere better to get your Carolina news, information, updates, opinions, thoughts, and more. Rashad, what's up, fella?
What's going on, guys? Good to be back. What's up? What you got?
Man, we're just talking football, buddy. Hey, let's start with this. I got into the blueprint yesterday. The kind of Panther produced and executed version of Hard Knocks. And look, you got to come at it to it as an analyst. You're like, all right, dude, like, what am I going to take for this? It's team produced. You know, they're only going to give you the silver lining, the best look at it. As a fan, kind of get you hype a little bit, right?
Yeah, great piece of work. I actually love the naming of the blueprint because, you know, the other guy said it took 7 years. You know, the Jay-Z reference, it's, you know, a little shot there, potentially taken by the creatives over at the Carolina Panthers. But no, I loved it. Episode 3 was, you know, they took us through the draft process and the rationale was really good. If you ever want to sit in a draft room and kind of figure out the thought process behind some of the picks, I mean, it was great the way they masterfully put it together. The first episode was about the free agents, the coaching. So they went through each coach, gave them their backstory, kind of introduced us to them. And the second episode was about the free agents, some of the new additions and some of the re-signings. Very well put together. I mean, there's a lot of change happening, and it was a great way to document everything that's going on. And it's like you said, from a fan perspective, it got us really hyped. And again, just to kind of level set, I completely agree with you. They're only going to show us the good stuff. Obviously, not everything is going to be, great, but it was really well put together, and I was happy they did it.
Speaking of shade being thrown at old coaches, how about Johnny Hecker, the punter, getting after it a little bit? He said, guys aren't guessing, you know, does this coach know what he's talking about? Does he really have my best interest in mind? For the first time, guys aren't guessing. Listen, what a solid way to both pump up Frank Reich for the fans and also give the old little backhand, just a little subtle backhand to the other guy.
Yeah, we all knew that the other guy wasn't a good coach. I mean, but it feels great to be vindicated by these players. I mean, these players are coming out, and he's not the only one. Hecker's not the only one that's come out recently talking about the bad coaching. Tommy Tremble, the tight end, our tight end, also said something about, you know, they were out there just kind of having to figure it out themselves. They weren't being coached up. And you go way back, even prior to that, you got Teddy Bridgewater talking about, hey, we didn't practice in the red zone. So these things are, I mean, listen, the guy had a lot of defenders, but these things are undefendable. Like you can't, he was not ready. He was in over his head. And it shows. And it feels good to hear these players come out and speak their truth.
Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Look, I said this yesterday on Twitter, and I'll say it here again. Man, look, as a Saints fan, as a fan, right? Anytime we talk Carolina, I got to approach it from two angles. As a fan, I'm a Saints fan. I don't want another great quarterback in the division. We're already set with future Hall of Famer Derek Carr. I don't want another great quarterback in the division like we already have. On the flip side, all these clips of BY, I saw the one yesterday of him seeing his locker fully dressed for the first time and him bringing his parents up and that emotional moment. I saw that really badass drone shot where they had him mic'd up, but they were droning around him and Reich walking across midfield talking about that. Dude, it's impossible not to pull for this guy. It's just impossible not to pull for this guy.
Yeah, I felt that way like a month or so before the draft. I started getting that vibe about him, and the more you see him, the more you see the interactions with them. You're like, man, this kid's gonna be great. I mean, everything you see, the family oriented. He's got a level head. He's not getting too high, not getting too low. He's just even killed, man. He's a cerebral assassin, and I cannot wait to see this guy on the field, man. I'm trying not to get trying not to jump out the window and say he's going to be the greatest quarterback of all time. I'm not going to do what you just did with Derek Carr. I won't go that
So
far.
you mean future Hall of Famer Derek
Yeah,
Carr?
okay, yeah, sure. But I'm not gonna go that far. But I'm excited to see him, and I cannot wait until training camp to actually see get a better view of Bryce Young.
Thoughts on BY's OTAs? Because look, he looked great. It's it's not full speed defense. We're not looking at full pads. We're not looking at full contact. We have yet to see Bryce Young play at full speed at the NFL level. But as far as I'm concerned, OTAs for a rook quarterback, it's about development. It's about progression. It's about mastery. Show me you know that playbook better than you know yourself. And I had very few criticisms of BY after OTAs, which I can't say about Anthony Richardson. I can't say about CJ Stroud. I can say it about BY. And that's not Rob Brown, the Carolina fan. That's Rob Brown, dude, who's been watching this for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, everything you're hearing about and I've only seen one practice, and the one practice I saw, he was great. The open practice for PSL owners, he was great then. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. Didn't turn the football over, didn't put the football in harm's way. And then you're saying, you hear this guy, man, finding corrections or inaccuracies in the playbook, like stuff like that. I mean, you're like, come on, man. You're like, you see this thing, you hear these things, you're like, man, this kid is going to be great. And so hopefully everything translates to the field, and we're going to see it during training camp. OTAs, I mean, like you said, you couldn't dream up a better scenario for Bryce Young being this good in OTAs. They've elevated him to be the starting quarterback, which was awesome. We didn't have to wait until training camp for it to be done. So it seems like everything is lined up to be great. We'll see it at training camp, but OTAs, checkbox, love it, did well.
All right, let me give you something I said on the show yesterday and get your thoughts. DeAndre Hopkins has been working out with New England. Tennessee's interested. Sal Paolantonio at the end of Tuesday said there was a little bit of interest between the Panthers and D-Hop. And then on Thursday morning, that started getting pushed back on by a few other insiders. Here's what I said. Edge rusher's still a need in free agency. I'm not going to argue that. I think cornerback depth is still one, because until JC shows me he can finish the season, I got to act as if he can't. But I say finding not any wide receiver, a star, a DeAndre Hopkins should be the number one priority, not just for Bryce Young to actually have a vertical threat, because while I think DJ Chark does have the ability to be a vertical threat if he can stay healthy and those 2 ankle injuries don't hold him back, while Laviska Shenault can be a Deebo Samuel kind of gadget player that can run routes, you don't have a true vert threat right now. And the guys that are there, Adam Thielen, TMJ, these are guys that I think their success or failure is predicated by playing into zones, into gaps, and you've got to stretch teams vertically to make that happen. Edge rusher, yes, need it. Cornerback depth, yes, need it. Getting a stud, a vert WR1, to me, needs to be Carolina priority number one, because of not just having BY to have a deep guy, but because all the other wide receivers you've built up will rely on that to be at their best. Specifically, Thielen, wide receiver 1 is the priority at free agent for Carolina.
Rob, you sound like you know what you're talking about a little bit, man. It sounds like you've been listening to the show. I don't know what's going on here, but you sound great. I couldn't agree more. I think that we do need an edge rusher. We do need a cornerback. With JC potentially being injured, injury prone or whatever, it's scary right there. Cornerback, edge rusher, we need one. There's some guys out there we can go take a look at, but to D-Hop is available, and I do like that we are even in the discussion, right? It may not be, a real thing. It may not come to fruition, but the fact that we are in the discussion somewhat tied to D-Hop, I love it. And for the reasons you said, I think we have a lot of guys on our roster that have very similar skill sets, right? You look at TMJ, he ran a 4.3, but he doesn't play like 4.3, right? He doesn't play like that. He's more of a possession guy. From what we've seen. Now, the coaching, things could change. He started to come out of the shell a little bit last year when Wilkes took over. But like you said, with Chark is our wide receivers. It's like the ultimate wild card. We don't know what we're going to get out the wide receiving core. We have no idea. These guys, if they stay healthy, Chark could be that vertical threat. But I like a little bit more assurance behind that. And you have the opportunity to land a D-Hop. The cap space won't be an issue. It won't be an issue for the next 4 or 5 years. With Bryce Young on a rookie deal, We should not be worried about cap at all. Pay everybody. Do whatever it takes. Pay everybody. Make it work. The Saints do it, right? Your team, you're used to seeing your team make it work.
Mickey Loomis is a wizard, dude.
He's
a wizard. All right.
He is.
All right. So the teams that we know are interested in D-Hop right now are Tennessee and New England. And I was talking yesterday to a buddy of mine who's a Tennessee fan, and he's like, y'all, like, please, like, don't get involved because, and I say this and I mean this, Hoodie's on the hot seat in New England. That's not a question mark. This is it for him. He needs D-Hop more than D-Hop needs him. And out of that division, a division that now has Josh Allen, it now has Tua Tagovailoa if he comes back, but I think Dalvin Cook ends up in Miami. That's danger zone. And it has Aaron Rodgers. D-Hop, dude, the Patriots' ceiling is third in that division.
Yes.
I got Tennessee. Nothing. I got nothing for the Tennessee Titans right now. It's desperation mode over in Nashville right now. Of the three teams that are in the mix, and I heard Cleveland tossed in there as well, but we'll see. Of the three teams that are primarily in the mix, at least if you include Carolina, explain to me, if D-Hop truly wants to win now, how Carolina isn't the right call.
I can't give you a reason how we're not the right call. I mean, you've got a young quarterback, Bryce Young, who's going to be great. It was said that he didn't want to play with the young quarterback. I mean, the guy's been saying a lot. I mean, he's been on reports. He's been saying the opposite of what he's been saying. He's been contradicting himself. So I think there isn't a reason. Look at this coaching staff. There isn't a reason that D-Hop shouldn't want to come play for Carolina. Now, the only other the team that you mentioned was the Cleveland Browns. They may have a one up on us because he might want to go back and play with Deshaun again. You never know how that's going to pan out. But the other teams you listed, for those reasons, exactly, like, I wouldn't want to go to the Patriots right now. They're getting ready to,
blow it up.
It's about to be bad there. Okay. Tennessee, no desire. They look at their rookie quarterbacks, look at their quarterback situation. No chance I'm going there. For Carolina, we're on the up. Why not? Why not come to Carolina? And so I think he needs to come here.
Rashad Beard, host the Panther Nation podcast. Follow them on Twitter at Panther Nation PC. More importantly, search and subscribe on YouTube. They are a go-to for all things silver and blue. My guy, good to talk to you, buddy. We'll get you back next week. I will be up there for ACC Media Days in a couple weeks, and we will see you at training camp.
Yep. Yeah. PNP and friends. Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be great.
Can't wait. Already on the calendar, big dog. Rashad, we'll talk to you next week, fella.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
You got it. Rashad Beard, Panther Nation podcast. Follow them on YouTube. Don't miss a moment. Your source for silver and blue football talk. We are back with hour 2 after this. Robin Lonzo and you on the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate.
It happens.
The outcome of a squirrel going into a transformer is bad for the squirrel.
Yeah. Hopefully it was quick. Don't want any squirrel suffering.
A few 10,000 volts probably well done.
Get you fried squirrel.
When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
This is an important notice to consumers facing $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt. You may not be required to pay it all back because there are special programs now in effect that will significantly reduce the amount you will owe if you qualify. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. These programs, which the credit card companies like to keep secret, exist to aid American consumers struggling with overwhelming credit card debt by offering tremendous savings and real debt relief. Accredited Debt Relief has established a special hotline for you to call and learn what savings you qualify for. They've helped qualify consumers with over $1 billion in debt and are A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau.
I have been calling Derek Carr a future Hall of Famer multiple times to Rashad. It's like the only thing that he's like, dude, shut up.
That's 800-330-2900.
The Rob Brown Show, now 19.
The person that's trending is Ezra Miller. Nothing. Ezra Miller is the actor who plays the Flash in the Flash movie in DC.
I knew that.
He was arrested at a karaoke bar. He didn't appreciate.
He's saying creep so badly.
I bet it would, Steven. I bet fried squirrel and squash relish would taste awesome. Don't send any by. I'm just speculating it would taste really good.
You never had squirrel before? I've had squirrel before. Okay.
We've actually talked about it on the air recently. Me and you talked about squirrel. We did.
Recently?
Recently.
I mean, I'm sure we had in the past. But recently? I don't remember. I'm also an idiot.
When we were talking about eating alligator, squirrel was brought up.
Okay. I believe that.
I get it. Most people don't remember conversations with me, which adds to the inferiority complex where you feel like you're invisible. But that's okay. After nearly 55 years of life, you get used to it. It still hurts in whatever's left of your heart. But, you know.
So dramatic.
If I was really angry about it, I'd jump scare you.
Yeah, don't do that. I sneezed yesterday, and Lonzo was like, "You got one coming."
It was very sudden and very loud. We do plan to attend practices. I don't know which ones, Trey. Probably not together because, Rob doesn't listen to me. But I know you guys do, and I appreciate that.
Our numeros of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is, ladies and gentlemen, the Fan Upstate. Good to be with you. I am Rob Brown. The great one, Lonzo, the Wizard of Wave, on the other side of the metaphorical glass this day. Should you elect to be a part of the radio broadcast, now is a wonderful time for you to do that. 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663. That's the phone number to get on the air. The text line's open for you, 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we'll read them on the air. You can also tweet me at The Rob Brown Show. You can tweet the great one at Lonzo on Word, and, of course, you can tweet everybody at the station by tweeting at The Fan Upstate. At The Fan Upstate. We'll get you on the air, man. Let's get some stuff in here in hour number 2, shall we? Let's start with this. Oh, man. Ray is going to be furious this morning because I'm about to talk soccer and baseball in the same hour. I'm going to talk college football in the hour, too, so calm down. But it was announced earlier this week that in 2025, FIFA has awarded the Club World Cup to the United States of America. The Club World Cup in 2025 will be expanding to 32 teams. It'll take place June through July of 2025. The U.S. was chosen during an online meeting of the FIFA Council, who praised the United States, quote, position as a proven leader in staging global events, and because it would allow FIFA to maximize synergies with the delivery of the tournament, end quote. Maximize synergies. Do people say synergy anymore? Like, I remember in the late 90s, early 2000s, when we were all about office buzzwords and synergy was it. It was the rave. Do people still say synergy?
I think we know that my vocabulary only goes to a certain amount of syllables, and that's like right there on the edge. So, no, I haven't heard synergy used that much. And I still think synergy is like some other words, more of a written word than a said word.
Synergy.
Unless you're doing yoga or something, I suppose. Do they use that in yoga? I think so.
I don't think so. For the record, used to do yoga. Never heard that used. All right. Used to do hot yoga. Probably going to start again.
I've been told that hot yoga is the way to go.
It's incredible. It really is.
It's like you're in a hot box.
It's a sauna.
Yeah.
And you're improving your flexibility, which is important for old people like me.
Yeah.
Anyway, synergy, which I assume is synchronized energy, but I've never actually looked it up because I'm not going to use that word. Anyway, America's synergy is the reason that we will host the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup. This is an event that brings 32 of the best clubs from around the world together to play in an international competition.
All right. So synergy, the interaction or cooperation of two or more organizations, substances, or other agents to produce a combined effect greater than the sum of their separate effects.
Synchronized energy.
So I don't get why we have synergy.
Because not in this building, but in other buildings, people in positions of management have to go above and beyond to make themselves sound and feel more important than they are to operations. And when you can put two people in a room and say, guys, we need to increase our synergy, it makes you sound like you know what you're talking about, even if you don't. That's where that crap comes from.
So it's just a
management buzzword.
Okay. All right.
100%.
That's probably why I've never really heard it too much.
You're a manager.
But we don't need that here. You're right. We don't need that
not
here.
in this building. Anyway, the current 7-team Club World Cup for continental champions played every season has never really caught on. So FIFA's looked to increase it. They'll go to 32 teams in 2025. Europe with 12 teams, South America with 6 teams are the only continents with more than 4 entries. Extra places are expected to be awarded according to team rankings by results using a 4-year span in continental championships. The event will last about 3 weeks. It has yet to been decided as a format. One option is guaranteeing the 32 teams at least 3 games each, playing in 8 groups of 4, similar to the World Cup. The 8 group winners could then advance to the quarterfinals, which creates a tournament of 56 games if they do play a third place game as well. This is interesting. We know as of right now that Real Madrid is in, Manchester City is in, and Chelsea are in as recent Champions League winners for the expanded tournament. We also know some other teams are in. Palmeiras out of Brazil, Flamengo out of Brazil, Monterrey out of Mexico, Leon out of Mexico, Al Ahly out of Egypt, Wydad Casablanca from Morocco, Urawa Red Diamonds out of Japan, and Al Hilal out of Saudi Arabia are all in as well. And then obviously we'll have a couple of potential MLS champions in there, yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to sit here and break down the tournament. Well, we will break down the tournament itself in 2 years when it happens. What I am going to say is this. For those of you that have been telling me that nobody cares about soccer, that it's a sport that's dead in the water, that it's a sport that has appeal for elementary school students and nobody older than that, it is really interesting how these events keep being here. It is really interesting how these events keep getting played in the States and across the South specifically. Sunday evening, the United States of America will play their third Gold Cup game when they go boot to ball. Where? Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. It is funny to me how a sport that is dead, that has no interest, that isn't growing, how the world's, and may I say, incredibly corrupt governing body keeps passing on places like Saudi Arabia that want these events and will pay mucho dinero for these events and keep placing these events in the United States. Women's World Cups, the Men's World Cup to be hosted in the States alongside Mexico and America's Hat, Canada. Now you've got what is going to be the largest event of its kind. The Club World Cup has been happening for a while, but because it's always been a smaller tournament with recent champions involved, it's never really caught on the way that you would think that it would. So where they go? We're going to go to 32. And the first time going to 32, they could have put this thing dead center Europe, a place that would have lost its mind with the best teams of national and domestic leagues from around the world all descending in one place. You could have stuck this thing in Germany and Italy and Britain and France. And every match would have been sold out by like a lot. You could have stuck it somewhere in Central Asia. It would have been sold out. You could have stuck it somewhere like down in Brazil. It would have been sold out. But where, for the largest club, the largest and most prestigious club tournament in the history of the game, did FIFA decide was the best place to play it? Right here in Estados Unidos. Now, I have no doubt, before you start banging off your text to me at 71307, starting with FAN, I have no doubt that a massive, if not the primary reason that FIFA has established the Club World Cup here in the States in 2025 is to basically give the United States a warm-up for the 2026 World Cup. It is to give us an opportunity to see what sustained use of NFL stadiums will look like. To give us a look at what sustained broadcasting of multiple soccer matches in the States will look like. To work on the logistics, to work on the technical side, to have some time to play and set up in different stadiums and learn what works, what doesn't. FIFA wants the World Cup, the biggest sporting event on planet Earth, for the first time in the United States in 3 decades plus, to look good, to be the gem of a presentation that the world's largest sporting event should be. A really good way to do that is to have a trial run. And if the Club World Cup gets a little squirrely, it's not the end of the world, because it is new. They're going to be learning from this expanded Club World Cup, just like we will be learning how to handle that size of a tournament with the World Cup coming up the next year. If you are trying to convince not me, but yourself that this sport's irrelevant in the States, nope. It is very relevant. And this goes one step further to proving it. Let me throw this out real quick. We're not going to spend a ton of time on it, but I do find it worth bringing up for just a minute. If, and only if, because it's so dumb that I can't help but love it. Javier Mendez is a renowned martial arts coach. He has coached multiple UFC and MMA fighters around the globe. He has leveled his prediction in what might go down as one of the most viewed MMA fights of all time. If it happens. This is it. Oh, this is in that thing. Okay. Well, we have a pay-per-view coming up this weekend. I thought we were going to be stock, lock, and loaded.
It's not that big. It's your show, dude. So,
no, it's fine.
You go right ahead.
We'll come back to that. I'm happy to save that for Fight Club.
Well,
coming up in just over an
that
hour.
aspect of it may not be covered. We were going to be talking about the perspective and already trainers for each fighter. That is definitely in Fight Club. But I mean, again,
we'll hang on to it.
You go right ahead.
Don't you worry about it.
Shows recap all the time. We can recap in the Fight Club.
I'm going to continue down the path of aggravating Ray. If you would like to vote for starters in the 2023 Major League Baseball All-Star Game, you have approximately another hour and 46 minutes to do that by going to MLB.com.
Wait, the All-Star Game for next year?
For this season. We haven't hit the All-Star Game.
Oh,
the Midsummer
Classic.
Yeah,
that does make sense.
Yeah.
Never mind.
If you would like to vote for the All-Star Game.
I messed with our synergy. I apologize.
You did. You threw off the synergy, and now we just have to restart the whole show, basically. The ballots are out to pick your All-Star starters. In the American League at first base, Yandy Diaz of the Rays leads Vlad Guerrero Jr. 53 to 47%. At second, Marcus Semien leads Whit Merrifield of the Blue Jays 65-35. Josh Young of the Rangers 58 to 42 over Matt Chapman of the Jays. Corey Seager leads Bo Bichette 60 to 40%. Rangers Blue Jays guys there. And out of the outfield, Mike Trout, Randy Arozarena, and Aaron Judge. Explain to me how Aaron Judge is beating Yordan Alvarez, Adolis Garcia, and Kevin Kiermaier when Aaron Judge has missed so many games this year and is likely out for at least another 3 weeks with a torn ligament in his toe. Sucks for him, but how's he an all-star starter?
As not a baseball fan, Aaron Judge is the only name I recognize.
Fair enough.
And this is a fan vote, right?
It is, yes, mostly.
So fans are going to go, yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah, having, however, 34 million people or whatever living in New York and making it TV market number 2 doesn't hurt.
Well, they're probably going to, if you're a fan of a team, you definitely know the guys on your team, and you're going, if any of them are nominated, you're picking those guys, and then everything else is just a name you know.
Fair. Jonah Heim of the Rangers leads Adley Rutschman of the Orioles. That one closed 52-48%. But I wanted to bring this up because I wanted to talk about the National League side of things.
Can I ask you something real quick?
Sure you can.
Why are fans still have the ability to vote on All-Stars?
Because it keeps you engaged. That's it. Why do we – all right. We take text and calls and tweets on this show. Why? Keep listeners engaged. If I may pull the curtain back a little bit. Because engagement drives eyeballs and ear holes. It's just what it does, right? If you wonder why guys like Mad Dog can scream into a television camera for 2 hours every morning and get paid $1 million to do it, it's because it's engaging. People work. Allowing the fans to vote keeps them engaged with the all-star race. That's it. That's the only reason.
Do they actually use the fan vote, though? I mean, there's no way we'll know for sure. It just seems to me that the best way to vote is by the current players that are playing the game.
They
and
make,
the coaches.
as far as I can tell, the honest results and vote tallies public, so they kind of have to, unless they're fudging the numbers.
That would never happen on any level of anything. Yes.
Let's talk about the National League side. First base, Freddie Freeman has 61% of the votes to be a starter, and he should. Just joined the 2,000 hit club, went on a, 22-game hit streak earlier this year. Freddie Freeman's playing out of his mind, but who is he got the slight edge on at first base for the starter? Matt Olson, his replacement at first base for the Atlanta Braves. Let's go to second base. Luis Ariz is currently your leader, 54% to 46%. And why wouldn't he be? Luis Ariz has been hanging around the 400 mark, and he's gone deeper around the 400 mark into the season than anybody else, with the exception, I think, one other guy since Ted did it. Luis Ariz has 54% of the votes to start. Who does he currently have the nod over? Ozzie Albies, the second baseman for the Atlanta Braves. Let's go to third base. So first baseman, there's a Brave on the All-Star team. Second baseman, there's a Brave on the All-Star team. Let's go to third base. Currently, Nolan Arenado of the St. Louis Cardinals hangs on to the first place, the starting vote, 58 to 42%, 16 points ahead. Who does he lead at third base? Austin Riley. Who does Austin Riley play for? You don't even have to know at this point. You can probably guess the pattern here. Austin Riley is, of course, the third baseman for the Atlanta Braves. So now, Lonzo, we have an all-star at first base, an all-star at second base, an all-star at third base, and now we move to shortstop. At shortstop, Francisco Lindor of the Mets has 31%. He's losing to the player with 69%. Who's the player with 69%? Right now, the current shortstop starter for the NL All-Star team, it's Orlando Arcia. Let's see if Lonzo's been paying attention. Who does Orlando Arcia play for, Lonzo?
The Atlanta Braves.
The Atlanta Braves. The Braves, ladies and gentlemen, have an NL All-Star at first base, at second base, at third base, and at shortstop. But we're not done. Let's go to the outfield. Do you know who the number one vote getter for the entire National League is? It's Ronald Acuna Jr. Hey, Lonzo, who does Ronald Acuna Jr. play for?
Atlanta Braves.
The Atlanta Braves. So now you're sitting with an all-star at first base, second base, third base, shortstop. The leading vote getter in the outfield is Ronald Acuna Jr. And, oh, by the way, Mookie Betts of the Dodgers and Corbin Carroll, the rook for the D-backs, are currently second and third in the outfield. But right there, the first reserve in the outfield for the National League is Michael Harris II. Michael Harris II has 19% of the votes. He's got a little work to do to be a starter, but he is an outfield reserver for the All-Star team. Hey, Lonzo, who does Michael Harris II play for?
You're going to trick me eventually, but I'm going to go with the Atlanta Braves.
It's the Atlanta Braves. And then we go to catcher, where as of right now, Will Smith of the Dodgers trying to make his first All-Star game despite an incredible career in LA. He has 44% of the votes to be the starter. But with 56% of the votes right now today, with an hour and 40 minutes left to vote, your starter is Sean Murphy. Hey, Lonzo, who does Sean Murphy play for?
The Atlanta Braves.
The Atlanta Braves! Ladies and gentlemen, you have an Atlanta Brave as an all-star catcher. You have an Atlanta Brave as the number one vote getter in the outfield in Ronnie Jr. And you have the other junior, Michael Harris Jr., in the outfield. Two of the six outfielders are Braves. Your starting shortstop is a Brave. Your reserve all-star third baseman is a Brave. Your reserve second baseman is a Brave. Your first baseman reserve is a Brave. Your shortstop's a Brave. There are 9 positions on defense in a baseball game. Of those 9 positions, 8 of them will either have an Atlanta Brave starting or as the reserve. Is that not incredible? Is no one else impressed by this? 9 positions on a baseball field, and the only reason you could not field an entire lineup of Braves as the all-star team for the NL. The only reason you could not start an entire roster of Atlanta Braves is because they're one outfielder short. That's insane.
Is the manager for the Braves over the all-star selection? Just curious.
Nope. These are fan votes. Unless you're like Lonzo and believe it's all the world.
Allegedly.
The only spot that the Braves do not have a representative is at the designated hitter position, where JD Martinez leads Bryce Harper. I don't know how. Bryce Harper's missed half of the first half, so I'm not exactly sure how Bryce snuck in there. It should be an Atlanta Brave. We got to take a break. Yo, do you understand how incredible that is? Incredible. The Braves could have 8 out of 9 players in the bottom of the 9th inning for the National League all be Atlanta Braves. It would just be the Braves versus the AL All-Star team. That's insanity. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Be right back, everybody. Chris is here. Hi, Chris.
Night or Comedy of Errors or
I could have got Comedy of Errors if I'd have thought about it.
the one with Beatrice and Benedict.
I gotta tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud of Captain America Chris Evans down the hall, who came down to play a game where he was just gonna, when I asked who does he play for, start yelling random baseball teams. I asked Captain America Chris Evans down the hall, noted non-Major League Baseball fan, how many MLB teams could he name? He did 15 off the top of his head.
I got half.
That's impressive.
Thank you.
That's real impressive.
I was impressed with myself. I didn't expect to get that many.
That's real impressive.
And he didn't use my hint. I kept saying, "Where am I from?"
Yeah, Alonzo was trying to give you more.
Ohio.
Well, maybe he doesn't know the teams from Ohio.
I-
One of them he would have got wrong.
Here's the thing.
And I
Cincinnati.
was trying to set him up.
Cincinnati.
Wow.
It's a color. The Reds.
Reds.
There
I was
you
gonna
go.
say I wanted to say Browns, and I was like, that's not.
That's Cleveland.
Exactly.
I had
And
it-
the football team.
Yep.
Yeah, I had an ulterior motive. I was
Okay.
hoping he would say Cleveland Indians, and he would have been wrong
Yeah.
Cleveland
'Cause-
Guardians.
because they're the Guardians now.
Yep, the Guardians now. Chris got 15 out of 30. That's pretty good, man.
I will also say that is contemporary, and I would predict that if I heard all of them, like if you gave me a list of like these are all of the MLB teams, I would go, yeah, I've heard of them before.
Yeah.
I know those. You
Then by the way, Chris challenged me to name as many of Shakespeare's 32 places I could. I got to 4, and I
Five.
still
You got
think
to
I
five.
got to 5, and I still think I did better than most everybody else.
that's probably about as many as most people could name.
well, that's all
I'll
I
say.
got. So
I am a Shakespearean actor, and I could maybe name half of them.
a thespian.
There's I will say that
He does have an
you
IMDb
can
credit.
kind
I
of-
know he does.
You can kind of get away if we discount the histories, of which there are a lot. I don't know how many there are by genre, but the histories are all named after kings. So you could just like guess, like
Arthur.
well,
Is that
no,
one?
No,
Damn it. I thought I was going to
Like,
7.
Richard II,
Yep.
or
Well,
and there's
George.
actually King George, the king, whatever, so you could just like swing at him and probably do better than most MLB batting averages.
15 out of 30. Not bad. Not bad.
Thank you.
What did you
That-
come in here? Did
that's
you come in
a-
here to
I will
fix or
say-
just to screw with the show?
That-
Because I'm fine with either.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That actually completely distracted me from the purpose that I came in here for, which is to inspect the new computer that Lonzo is using. But it was fun. It was fun. I wanted to play along with the Braves.
We just aim for fun.
Game that you were having with Lonzo about the and that's impressive, by the way. I know the Braves is your team, the team that I grew up with. I remember listening to back when, like in the middle of the 90s, when they were in the World Series, like I don't know, 2 or 3 times, I think.
And won one.
And won one of them.
Now we have 2.
I remember listening to them on AM radio in the middle of the night, like going to sleep listening to the Braves game.
I remember going home from school and watching them on TBS. But guess
There you
what?
go.
I now live 2.5 hours from Atlanta, which means I can't watch weeknight games anymore.
You could. It's a short drive. I've been to games in Atlanta.
Dude, they blacked out a game on Tuesday night that I was very excited to watch. It was on TBS, which is a national network. And I thought, oh, it's on TBS. No problems. I don't even have to illegal stream. Not that I ever do, obviously, but I don't have to do that tonight.
VPNs are great.
And I turned on TBS, and when you clicked it on the TBS, you got a message that said this program is unavailable in your area. It was blacked out. Infuriating, because it used to be a race between myself and the little brother. My mother dropped him on his head as a child, and he became a Chicago Cubs fan. It used to be a race to see
I thought you
who.
were going to say he became an attorney.
Yes. It became a race to get to the house because whoever got the remote to the big TV, if the Braves and the Cubs were both playing afternoon games, got to watch their game on the big TV. The other had to go up to the playroom and watch on the little TV. And this is back for you kids in the audience who don't know what a tube television is.
Classic sibling rivalry.
Yes, it was. It is. It remains. Now I can't watch games from it. It's just stupid. So stupid. Anyway, Braves won last night.
Always a
Since
pleasure.
Lonzo, big Braves guy over here, nailed every one of the players I threw at him. He knew them all.
Well, and I was going to say that's impressive. Which I take it was the point you were making, that a single team has that many players as all-star.
They won't do it, but
No.
no. Hang on.
Obviously.
There's a back half to that sentence.
Okay.
They won't do it. If they wanted to, they could play the bottom of the ninth of the All-Star game with 8 of 9 defensive players all being from one team.
As the Atlanta Braves.
As a non-sports guy.
Right.
That's incredible, right?
No, that is incredible.
When you have the league made up of the best baseball players from around planet Earth, Shohei Ohtani is from Japan. Domingo Germán, who threw the 24th perfect game in Major League Baseball history last night, is from the Dominican Republic. You've got Ronald Acuna Jr. from Venezuela. Baseball is more international in this country than any sport with the exception of soccer. And we get soccer's international players who can't play in Europe, right? So
we're the JV league.
Correct. The MLS is. It's getting better, but it is. The Major League Baseball is the premier league for the most talented baseball players on planet Earth, no matter where you are from. MLB will find you and bring you here to play for these clubs. And the Braves, out of the 15 teams in the National League, have 8 of those players going.
So
that's insane.
So here's a question that occurs to me, and I come to you because you know way more about sports than I do, and I trust your opinions. Does this put pressure on the Braves? If they don't, I don't know, make the playoffs or win the World Series, do they have an excuse?
So they are the current betting favorites to win the World Series. They are 2-1 odds, which is not great to pick a champion. That's a tough number to win a champ. The next closest team is like 4.5-1 right now. It's the Dodgers, who are also very, very good. Now there are other aspects of this. The trade deadline is in 3 days. Teams like the Dodgers are going to add probably $25-30 million to their payroll because they're going to call the teams that suck and go, we want your best player.
Right.
And we will send you a lot of money and some prospects, minor league guys, to grow your pipeline for the future. And so there are going to be some teams.
What were we talking about in the office the other day? A building year or
Yeah, a restructuring year.
Okay.
That sounds better than saying we suck and we know it and we're just leaning into it.
But that's what it is.
Yes.
Okay.
So some of the teams like the Chicago White Sox, they've got a guy by the name of Tim Anderson, America's favorite baseball player.
I knew there were 2 different colors of socks.
There are 2 different color socks.
I only picked one.
So they got a guy, Tim Anderson, who plays shortstop, wonderful shortstop, but he's having a real bad year this year. And in athletics, athletes will tell you the concept of a change of scenery. Like sometimes you get into habit and routine and it can lead to a degradation of talent. And the way to ramp back up to what you're capable of doing is a shock to the system. Now, if you work in an office, that shock to the system usually comes in the form of a manager coming to you and going, no, you're bad. You're fine. We're going to start knocking your paycheck or whatever. In baseball, it can be as simple as you play for a new team in a new stadium, like your whole world gets thrown on its head. And then these guys are like, oh, I gotta get it together.
You live somewhere else now.
So a team like the Chicago White Sox, who have enough talent to be an AL contender, but instead are like 4th place in one of the worst divisions in baseball for no reason at all, they're going to offload their biggest contracts so that they can fill their farm system, their young guys back up, that they grow and bring new talent in, and you try to build a young core. So a guy like Tim Anderson's going to go. Well, if you're a team like the Los Angeles Dodgers, if you're a team like the LA Angels, like the Atlanta Braves, and you're going, hey, not only is our window open, but we're one of the expected play, not divisional winners, but long run in the playoff teams. You go, hey, Chicago, we'll take Tim Anderson off your hand. We're going to give you 3 minor league prospects plus a briefcase full of cash in return for your should-be best player.
Style,
effectively, right? And so he'll get sent out to LA. So it's one of those things that today, yes, the Braves, anything less than winning the National League would be a massive disappointment. But that could change in 3 days because if the Dodgers decide to go, as the kids say, ham and put $25-30 million to go get 2 more guys that are all-stars but playing for bad teams right now, they could take that position. That being said, to have 15 teams in the National League, 9 players on the field, and the Braves send an all-star representative for 8 of them is stupid impressive.
Yeah.
Stupid impressive. History impressive. I don't think it's been, I don't think it's happened before.
So, and that's an impressive thing, even to somebody who barely recognizes the achievement. But that was a lot of words, and I like the analysis, but I don't know that I got a clear answer to the question. Do the Braves have an excuse? If they don't win, or at least make it, let's just say make it to the World Series, do they have an excuse?
So first off, the
Give me a
top
yes or no.
for
I know
me,
you were trying to explain it.
well, so
and you have an audience to
I do.
to cater to.
I do.
Thank you.
There is, and I've said this before, this is one of there's like 3 philosophical sticking points we hit on the show all the time. And one of them is the difference between excuses and reasons, right?
Okay.
Either one can be applied to any situation. To me,
That's why I use that word.
I understand.
I agree.
There are excuses and there are reasons. Reasons are things
Just
that
why
cause a thing
something
to
happened.
happen that are within your control. Excuses, scratch that, flip that.
Yeah.
If something bad happens, a reason is something that made it happen that is beyond your control. If something bad happens, an excuse is this bad thing happened and something that was inside of your control that you didn't do right caused it to happen. And so to go, oh, well, blah, 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 that's an excuse versus this other thing happened. There was no way for me to stop it. That's a reason. The reason that the Braves don't make the World Series is what I just explained. Primarily, LA Dodgers go and stockpile via the trade deadline in 3 days and build an all-star team that is the caliber of Atlanta's. Now you got a great series. That being said, last year, the Braves had a very similar, not as many all-stars, but a very similar team last year, and they lost in the second round of the playoffs to the Philadelphia Phillies, who are a wild card team that played just above 500 baseball, were not anywhere near as good as the Braves, but they got white hot. So the other reason the Braves don't make it is because, and I've said this for many years, baseball's freaking weird.
Yeah.
It just is. It's just weird. You can have a team that plays 500 ball all year come in and beat a team that's a 106 win team. And then you go, why? And the only answer is they played better.
You know, it's one of the things that I've thought about. You could have a player who has a 333 batting average. They hit a third of the pitches that are thrown to them, or their at bats, I guess is how.
Sure.
Not the pitches necessarily, but
you're killing it. Keep going.
Thank you. If you had an NFL receiver who caught a third of his passes,
fired.
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah. Hitting a baseball is, and this is, there used to be a show called Sports Science that I loved on ESPN. They literally went into a lab and then had professional athletes come in and do their thing, and they would analyze this stuff. Hitting a baseball is, with one exception, the hardest thing to do in sports. The only thing harder to do than hit a fastball in baseball is hit a fastball in softball. Hitting fast pitch softballs, statistically speaking, is harder to do than it is to hit a Major League Baseball.
Do you remember? I mean, like a little bit
percentage points, but enough that you got to give it credit, right?
Sure.
Hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do in sports. So there's a guy for the Marlins right now, Louis Urias,
in terms of
who
routine
is
tasks.
he is 400.
Right?
Yeah,
not like, you know.
I mean, I would argue anything. Now, is it harder
not like
to
versus winning a Golden Glove?
Right.
Okay.
As far as an act that you do
routine task,
correct?
Okay.
Then yes, hitting a baseball is the second hardest thing to do, only behind hitting a softball, because softball's pitching from 60% of the distance, decreasing the speed a little bit, but also softballs can move in ways that baseball can't. Right. So anyway, for the Braves to have this many dudes make it there doesn't guarantee you anything, because last year there were 3 teams that won over 100 games and none of them won the World Series. It's just baseball. It is the weirdest sport. It is the only sport that, and I've said this on Bet for the Cycle, my nationally syndicated baseball gambling show that airs from noon to 4 on Saturdays. I've said this on that show. I've said it on this show, and I'll say it again. Baseball is truly, in my opinion, the only sport that you can watch and a game ends with an outcome that is completely opposite of what you expect, or a stretch of games, like a really good team all of a sudden loses 6, 7, 8 in a row. And you're like, it is the only sport that I can look at and they go, why is this bad thing happening? And you go, because they're not playing good. I won't do that with any other sport. If you ask me to do it when a football team loses, I can go, okay, because the offensive scheme was bad. They got this coverage and they weren't prepared for it. The wide receivers weren't running the right route trees or whatever. In basketball, I can look and go, okay, the off-ball movement wasn't good. The screens are bad. Your center was playing too high in the paint, whatever. With baseball, sometimes guys just aren't playing good. And that's the end of it. Buck Showalter's with the New York Mets. The New York Mets have the highest salary in baseball right now. It's like $292 million just for this year's team. And they are 16 and a half games back of the Atlanta Braves, who are like 7th or 8th in payroll. Now, if you ask me, what's going wrong with the New York Mets. They were it was supposed to be the Braves, the Mets, and the Phillies in a 3-horse race to win this division. Instead, the Braves are 6.5 games up on the Miami Marlins, who have like the 4th lowest payroll in baseball, right? The Mets and the Phillies, who have 2 of the 4 highest payrolls in baseball, are 16.5 games or more back of the Braves. What is going wrong there? They're just not playing good. That's literally the answer. There are Mets fans screaming to fire Buck Showalter, their manager, because he can't figure it out. And I'm looking and I'm going, dude, if I am paying you $292 million combined dollars to play baseball, do it good. And they're just not. And they're just not. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, thanks for coming by, buddy.
Thank you.
Good to have you.
Always a pleasure.
You got it. Texas says, pop quiz, what's worse than yesterday's 80% baseball show? Today's 99% baseball show. Move to wrestling, please. Lonzo, I think we should do that in like, we say 40 minutes.
It has been a little over 50% baseball, by the way.
No, we done 2 out of 5 segments have been baseball.
Shall I show you the sheet where I mark
Where else
things
did I do
down?
baseball? I did last segment and this segment.
Perfect game. Hour 1.
Oh, you're right. Good call. Forgot about the perfect game talk. You're right.
Where's the great one?
57% baseball, give or take. All right.
Yeah, we're just now a little over halfway through the show, so you still have time to do more.
In fairness, I did not plan on talking baseball here. Captain America ruined the show. So it wasn't my fault.
Well, you poll the listeners and they say here, and you say it's our show collectively, and then you completely go the opposite of what the listeners asked for. As I said yesterday.
Texas said the Braves thing is very impressive, more impressive than a lot of these guys were through their own farm system and literally have 0 misses. It's crazy to think they haven't had any buster misses on their picks or players. Even the guys they've traded for, the Braves are a very well-run organization right now. Yeah, that's it.
Who's the all-star manager?
Brian's of the NL this year.
Yeah, so if you are that guy and you are not the manager for the Braves,
it is going to be no, Dave Martinez was last year. I don't know who it is this year actually.
Play the Braves the entire game.
Just play the
Yeah, play them the entire game.
They, by the way, remember that, and I promise this is
get them tired, and then that's what you do. You get them tired. Change their positions. Say, you know what, we've decided to put you at left field. I know you're the first baseman, but you're going to left field. Bring in the center field for catcher. Have the shortstop pitch. Stuff like that.
By the way, I'm going to say this and then we're done with baseball. Promise. I don't promise. I'm going to say this and then we might be done with baseball. The Tampa Bay Rays went on one of the hottest runs to start a season in the history of Major League Baseball. They had everybody in the rearview mirror by 15 plus games. They are now 55-28. They have the best record in the American League by 6 full games. And the Atlanta Braves are now within a half a game of the Tampa Bay Rays. Despite what's that tell you? The Braves have been more consistently good than any other team in baseball through the entire season.
It tells you there's 180 something games and you're never really out of it at the beginning of the year.
There's 162 games.
If you count the World Series and all that stuff.
And every one of those games matters as much as the last and the next. Back after this for probably not baseball. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's the fan up.
Because we won't have time.
Baseball! This show's so dumb and I love it.
This was fun. It's always good. So I've determined that the audio problem.
Hang on, we're going to talk shop, boys. Be right back.
I
Go ahead and do it. Lonzo and I are just dueling over who's going to bring us back
Like
on
you were
streaming.
talking, I'm trying to,
I think we got it. I don't know. Look, it's Friday.
No, it's not Friday. It's Thursday. I'm blaming Steven for that whole synergy thing because
He
ever
threw off
since
the
then,
synergy.
yeah. It's
Hey, you're not wrong. He threw
it's all
off
Steven's fault.
the synergy. All right, real quick before we get out of here for this segment of the show, the NFL is expected, according to Adam Schefter, to hand out suspensions to as many as 6 players across the league for violating their league gambling policy. And these suspensions could all be season-long suspensions. NFL Indianapolis Colts cornerback and kick returner Isaiah Rodgers is one expected to be suspended for a year. Rodgers is a subject of a league investigation into possible violations of the league's gambling policy, including placing bets on Colts games. Rodgers acknowledged the situation on social media earlier this month, saying he takes full responsibility for his actions. And the NFL is now at a point where they are going to be holding a full and wholesale talk with NFL players, emphasizing 6 rules of their gambling policy. Number 1, don't bet on the NFL at all, ever.
You notice something though. No big name has been named yet.
No big name has been named yet.
And are we going to get a bombshell? That's I mean,
It's a really good question. Because the fact that Shefty knows that there are up to 6 players that could be looking suspension, but doesn't know the name of them, are out there. Now, we do know that former Detroit Lions player and one Washington Commanders player were suspended by the league. Lions wide receiver Quintez Cephas and safety CJ Moore were suspended indefinitely for betting on NFL games, as was Commanders defensive end Shaka Toney. Lions wide receivers Jamison Williams and Stanley Berryhill were suspended for 6 games each for mobile betting that occurred at the Lions Allen Park facility. Don't bet while you're at the facility. I don't know why, like specifically at the facility is a rule, but it is. Don't bet on the NFL. Don't gamble at your team facility or while traveling for a road game or staying at the team hotel. Effectively, if you're with your teammates, don't gamble.
Or there's this one thing. I don't know if you've heard of this. Just don't bet at all during your career. Afterwards,
Go bananas.
You ain't got nothing to do. You got all that money you banked, what you saved responsibly. Go out and just blow it all then. I mean,
I'm not against it.
Is the gambling just like we've seen people who can't stay off the drugs? Is that more important
than your career?
Not only your career, but your teammates, your team, all that stuff.
That's fair. Rule 3, don't have someone bet for you. Rule 4, don't share inside information from your team. Rule 5, don't enter a sports book during the NFL playing season. And Rule 6, don't play daily fantasy football. Look, I look at this the same way that I look at a lot of other things. Drinking, for instance. There are rules about my drinking here at the show, right? Don't drink when you're on the clock. Don't drink when you're in the office. Don't drink when you're on the air. Don't drink in any way that impacts your job. Does that mean I can't go home and crack open bourbon? No, I do. Does that mean I can't go to a tailgate party and knock back a couple of cold Bud Lights? No, it doesn't. I do that too.
As long as you don't do something stupid afterwards.
Correct.
Which
are what all these other rules are. Don't do the stupid things while you were doing this thing. I don't care if players gamble. The NFL doesn't either. But you can't do it this particular way. It's really not that tough to follow. But it is interesting. The problem for me is people tend to look at these stories and put all sports gambling in a bad light. Yo, I'm not an NFL player. Let me bet. Back after this for the third final best money hour of the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate. DJ Chark do 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 do. DJ Chark do 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 do.
I'm gonna have to mess with this while you guys are not on the air. It shouldn't be doing that.
Well,
and
Marty,
that actually makes me more confident in my solution because basically you'll have 4 different inputs that'll be one of each of the buses. Like you could record from program, you could record from audition, you could record from aux, you could record from utility.
This is going to mess with what we have already on the board. with any of those.
No.
You were just pointing to those specific ones. I understand what you're saying. So that's
what I'm saying is that you could
none of that's
tell-
assignable to the board as far as a.
No, it's going to be it's going to be like this monitor. Like you could push. I mean,
Okay.
you could listen
All right.
to utility. You could listen to audition. The computer could listen to utility. The computer could listen to audition. You can tell it to record from whichever bus you want. So you could mix minus your own. You know,
Okay.
like whatever you need. And I could even put again one more channel in there that would effectively be a floater, and we could program it to anything in the building. Like we could switch it. Like if you wanted to record directly from WRQ's Comrex or Tara's program 1 bus in her office studio.
Okay.
Again, not a reason that you would necessarily need to do that, but if we find one, then you'd be able to. And we wouldn't have to mess with any of the buses. But that again is something I'm gonna have to do when you guys are not.
Exactly, Joe.
What? What?
Joe.
Joe's saying about me.
What? The Rob Brown Show. It shouldn't be doing that. I wish that wasn't so painfully accurate.
I'll be back. I am disappointed. To say the least. I want the stuff
I,
that I'm with to work.
Me
I
too,
hear that-
because
I
now I
hear that
got
a
to do
lot.
extra work afterwards because I can't do podcasts right now because.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Because that ought to work.
I can hang out
Technically, there's supposed to be input there too.
when the
but
show is over. I can hang out in here for a minute and we can try it out.
Well, we're not getting any echo, but it's on co-host. That's why. Well, yeah. I'm not getting any echo right now. So.
Today, I consider myself, the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
Well, you ought to be able to play out of that.
We'll try it.
Can we check it?
We shall try it after the show.
Well, you got like 2 minutes if you want to try something. I have it in queue. So, just saying.
I'm nervous. That's also true.
Hopefully not done, but you never know.
Better yet, people will be asking you where you got it. How do we know? Because we're wearing Smith & James and they're asking us. Check out their collection today at smithandjames.com and stop by their stores in downtown Greer and on Verde Boulevard in Greenville.
The TTI tool sale is back this week only. Top brands and huge savings on
Gable's in the first break.
Gable's in the first break.
Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. While supplies last. Located off exit 96 in Gaffney at 34 Commerce Drive. Credit card only, no cash accepted.
Are you kidding me? Gas prices are up again? Somebody has to do something.
Well, someone did. That's why I use Upside.
Upside, what's that?
It's a free app that pays you back real money for every gallon of gas or diesel you buy. I just earned 25 cents back on every gallon of this tank.
Hold on. So the Upside app is free and you actually get cash back every time you use it? No strings attached?
Yep, it's awesome. Check it out. It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up.
Instead of just watching your dollars go into your tank, start putting money back into your wallet with the free app from Upside. With the price of gas today, it's big news and big money. To cash out,
No, do not restart.
For your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card. Upside users have already earned over $200 million. Now it's your turn. Download the free Upside app and get cash back on every gallon of gas. Use promo code GOLF for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's code GOLF. Use code GOLF for an extra 25 cents per gallon back in your first fill-up. Cashback's not available. Gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin. The official sports voice of the upstate fan. CBS Sports Radio. Live from the Philadelphia.
Man, check this out.
So on official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents freedom win.
Yeah.
Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
There
This is the Rob Brown Show. Raw only.
The third, the final, the best of money hour of the Rob Brown Show starts now. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Fan Upstate. I am Rob Brown, the great Lonzo on the other side of the metaphorical glass. This AM, 844-326-3663 is the number to be a part of the radio broadcast. 60 minutes of baseball coming your way right now. All right, that's not true.
Well, 2/3 of the show last hour was baseball. So,
and it, by the way, was good. It was, dare I say, real good, real good. Let's get to some other stuff, though, shall we? Let's get to some other stuff here on the radio broadcast. Yesterday, we talked a little bit of Panther football. We did it again this morning with Rashad Beard. I'm going to follow up with something that I said yesterday on the radio broadcast. I said, hey, Adam Thielen is your wide receiver number one. And because Adam Thielen is your wide receiver number one, I believe that the number one priority of the Carolina Panthers right now should be getting another wide receiver. It should not be an option at this point. It has to be number one, specifically a vertical wide receiver, a down the field threat. Even if it's not a guy the caliber of a DeAndre Hopkins, I just need somebody I can trust to run the 9 route, to run the fly route, to pull defenders with him, to open up gaps in the defense, because that is where Adam Thielen and TMJ and Shi Smith are all going to thrive. You run 3 guys like that underneath a vert route that pulls safety help backwards, and you're gonna be in good shape, right? Well, yesterday I was scrolling around a little bit, and it turns out I'm not the only one who believes that Adam Thielen at 32-year-old is going to start seeing a bit of his overall stats decrease this year. Fantasy Pros Dennis Sosich wrote about the former Minnesota wide receiver and what type of production he expects out of him this season. He opened by saying, quote, Adam Thielen continued to produce in 2022 despite a noticeable decline in skill. Thielen scored 6 touchdowns last season with the Vikings and caught 70 passes on 107 targets for 716 yards. Now, that, ladies and gentlemen, is all well and good. Impressive, dare I say, is a fair word to use for Adam Thielen and his production last year. But I would also like to point something out. Last year, as has been mentioned, Adam Thielen played where? The Minnesota Vikings. Who was the other wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings last year? Justin Jefferson. A guy that has quickly become certainly one of the top 10 wide receivers in the league. Justin Jefferson is the vert threat. Justin Jefferson is the down the field threat. I would make the argument that right now, today, Justin Jefferson has a real, not just possibility, perhaps probability to end this season being considered the best wide receiver in the National Football League. I think Justin Jefferson has as much ability as Davante Adams does right now. Davante Adams, a wildly talented wide receiver. Of course, he divorced from A-Rod of the football persuasion. Went to Vegas, where he caught 100 passes, 1,516 yards total, 14 touchdowns, 6 more than Jefferson. He averaged 2.45 yards per route run. And over the past 3 seasons, he led the NFL in a overall Pro Football Focus grade out with an average grade of 94.5. Jefferson placed second in every one of those categories behind only Davante Adams. Jordan Jefferson was still growing Davante Adams' most Certainly not at this point in his career. I think there are some other guys that could compete. I think Tyreek down in Miami. He does have the most precise quarterback in the National Football League, according to Lonzo. Tyreek's got a chance to be in that discussion. Jamar Chase has a chance to be in that discussion. Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, all with a chance. I think Kupp's fallen off a little bit this year, but we'll see. All these guys have the opportunity to be in that discussion, but Justin Jefferson is the number one guy in the discussion for who knocks Devontae off the throne as the best wide receiver in the game. Adam Thielen succeeded because he was lined up opposite or underneath Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson demanded a double team and frequently still beat you when you did it. But he demanded a double team, and in demanding a double team out of Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen did what Adam Thielen does. What does Adam Thielen do? He finds the holes in the coverage. He sits down underneath the hole in the coverage. He waits for that hole to open up, and then he puts his hands up and he catches precision passes. That's Adam Thielen's game. He's not a big yak guy. He's not a big vert threat. He's not going to have a bunch of 50, 60-yard pass receptions. He's going to get you 7, 8. Maybe he falls for 2 yards after and picks you up the occasional first. That's kind of the thing. But for him to be successful at that and rack up 1,000 yards receiving, he's got to have defenses pull vertically so that he can read where the holes in the coverage are going to be, find them, sit down in them, and hope his quarterback does the same. Now, the good news is I think Adam Thielen pairs wonderfully well with Bryce Young. Because what's Bryce Young's game? Much like it was with Peyton Manning, Bryce Young's game is to look at a defense, recognize that defense, see the first step of every defender on the field, and know this is where that zone's going to open up, and I'm going to throw that ball there with precision. That was his talent at Alabama. That's the talent expected to be brought to the Carolina Panthers this year. That's perfect for Adam Thielen. But if a defense is compressed because nobody's a deep threat, Adam Thielen's job gets tougher and the passes get tighter for Bryce Young. That's why you got to go wide receiver number 1.
See, I hear you saying this. I hear Rashad saying this, but no one's factoring in the fact that the Panthers are going to be a running team because they're always a running team. They're going to be, it wouldn't shock me if it's 60 to 65% run and then the rest pass. So if the defense knows you're a running team, then receivers like this will get open because the defenses are going to be playing up thinking they're going to run the ball.
I think if you look, I think under Matt Rule, that was the case. It was a run team.
I think you should historically look at the Panthers. I don't think they're going to change that much. I know Frank Reich makes you think it's going to be a passing team. I am not convinced. I think this team is more built on running game and short passing game.
So Frank Reich himself about 3 weeks ago at a postgame presser said the NFL is a passing game, but you have to be able to run the ball. And I think, I do entirely and totally agree with that. You have to be able to throw the ball to win in this league, but you have to be able to run to successfully throw the ball. I'm not disagreeing with you all. I think you're looking at a split offense. I think early in the season, it's going to be a very heavy run team. You don't bring in Miles Sanders not to run the ball, right? I think early in the season, it is absolutely a very hefty run team. And for the record, Frank Reich, even during his time with the Colts, the backbone of his offense was the run game. I'm not disagreeing with you in the least. What I am saying is, in the NFL, you run the ball to set up the pass. That's what running the ball's for. It's nice if you can have a Jonathan Taylor, who, during his last full year as the coach, Frank Reich saw lead the NFL in rushing yards with 1,811 and 18 rushing touchdowns. But there's two things going on here. Number one, Miles Sanders ain't Jonathan Taylor. Nobody's Jonathan Taylor.
But what's the old saying? A running game is a rookie quarterback's best friend.
Yeah, 100%.
I get the focus is on the receivers and everything, but I think they're going to run the ball more than they throw the ball. And if you run the ball successfully, even these receivers who supposedly are so bad I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm saying, the national sports guys are saying it. Even these receivers who supposedly are so bad are going to get open.
Fingers crossed, right? Again, you run the ball to set up the pass. If I can't get Thielen, TMJ, Laviska Shenault, DJ Chark, if I can't get those guys open by running a clean pass game, I have got to pound the rock to compress that defense even more.
Let me throw out the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh, they don't have a long threat now because Tyreek Hill is gone. So
I would say A, you have more wide receiver talent than the Carolina Panthers do, and B, you have Patrick Mahomes, right? I pointed out yesterday when we were talking about this, about Tom Brady. Tom Brady had 1 year with Randy Moss, the best receiver he had during his time there. He had some other very good wide receivers, but his best receiver was an older Randy Moss, and all he did that year was, alongside Randy Moss, set the record for most touchdowns thrown between a single quarterback and wide receiver. But Tom Brady, because he was good, just like Patrick Mahomes with the Chiefs, does not require any specific wide receiver setup to be successful. Now, if the Panthers play the hand right, Bryce Young turns into that, right? That's what you hope he turns into, is Patrick Mahomes. In fact, if you asked me what the perfect, if Bryce Young has the perfect career, who does he end up reminding you of in 2 or 3 years? It's Patrick Mahomes. More than Russell Wilson, more than Drew Brees, it's Patrick Mahomes, who, by the way, does not get enough credit for how well he thinks the game. Patrick Mahomes is a wonderful thinker of the game. But then he also is the best improvisational quarterback since Michael Vick. You hope BY turns into that guy. You hope that BY is that guy. And if so, all this hurts you a little bit less. But out of the gate, I think you're right. I think you're looking at like 65% run, 35% pass at the absolute most out of the gate. But I do think a chunk of that could be helped. You could increase that number more quickly with a vert threat. I really do. Good defenses are around the league. Chiefs have a great defense, without an argument, right? Philly last year had a great defense, in my ever so humble opinion. But let's not kid ourselves and say the NFL isn't a league that's won by the best offenses. The Chiefs last year had the best offense in football. They won the Super Bowl. The Eagles got to the Super Bowl because Jalen Hurts found his way and that offense opened up. The best offenses win with as much help from defenses as you can get. It has not been since the Ravens that defenses have won Super Bowls. That's why I go vert. All right, real quick, one more Panther story before we get out of here and get to Fight Club with the great one in the next segment. I mentioned to you earlier, this is not a soccer story, but it does involve soccer. The United States of America's men's national soccer team will play a Gold Cup game coming up on Sunday. Game number 1 against Jamaica. They found a dying breaths equalizer to go 1-1 and take a point away from the Reggae Boys. Game number 2 last night, they took on St. Kitts and Nestle? Nincompoop? I don't know. Doesn't matter. They beat them 6-0. It was a beatdown. Of course it was. St. Kitts is an island nation with 50,000 people. Y'all, there's 50,000 people listening to this radio station right now. So they're just happy to be there. And the Americans did what they should have done. Went out and just laid it down on a team that has, frankly, no business being there. Sunday night, they get one more shot in the opening round of the Gold Cup. This one's going to be played at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. And guess what they're doing to the field at BOA? They're laying down natural grass for this one. They have pulled up the turf. They are laying down natural grass for this match that will be played on the green stuff coming up on Sunday evening. which is interesting because the players, they done been asking for natural grass for a hot minute. In fact, I kind of laughed this morning because as I was reading, just because I was very curious what the process looks like to change a stadium's playing surface on the fly like this. I was reminded of the 2016 NFC Championship game played against the Arizona Cardinals, a game that you may or may not remember was won by the Carolina Panthers. And I found multiple stories this morning from both fans and former players who said that a good chunk of the reason Carolina won that game is because the field was natural grass, right? They said because it had rained that week that Carolina, and we heard this about Notre Dame too. Notre Dame got in trouble. I don't know if you remember this story, because Notre Dame was allegedly letting the grass on their field when it was natural grass before they switched to turf. They were letting the grass on their field grow up to like ankle height. And it was basically, we're a big brawling Big Ten team this year. We're going to slow down every other team by having real thick grass they got to run through, real thick mud. Arizona was kind of in that spot. And on top of that, Arizona was effectively in the locker room at halftime trying to change to the longer spikes on their cleats, and they couldn't get it done in time. I'm not saying it is the reason Carolina won that game, but it probably helped a little bit. And the players have just been asking for natural grass, but there's been pushback, right? It's too expensive. It's too tough to maintain. We can't really do other events in the stadium if we do this, things like concerts, etc. Well, I'll start with, first of all, I know it's a much bigger field, but if any of you have been to a concert at the Bon Secours Wellness Arena anywhere between the months of, say, October and March, you've stood on top of a hockey rink, because there are ways to platform and format these things to make it happen. Now, I know that they can do that with natural grass. Why? Because they're literally doing it right now. Under that AstroTurf at the bottom of Bank of America Stadium is a concrete foundation that they lay the turf down on top of. They pull it up. They put down another platform on top of that on which they lay the dirt and then the natural grass on top of that. It can be done. Is it cheap? No. Is it safer? Is it what the players want? Yeah. At this point, it's not even about that to me. At this point this is a really good opportunity for David Tepper to show his team that he's all in. I think he's done a good job of that this offseason. He has spent the money. He has let Frank Reich and Scott Tepper basically have unbridled decision-making power over the team. I think David Tepper has earned an A+ for his offseason ownership activities. But locker room chemistry is a big thing, not just between players, not just between players and coaches, but between players, coaches, and upper management. Tep's got a real opportunity here. If he goes and sits in his ivory tower overlooking BOA down at the field, and he sees how quick and easy this grass can be laid down and then picked back up, dude, just make the switch. Make the players happy. It's good for the locker room, good for chemistry. Couple of texts, and then it's time for Fight Club. Texter says Brady had a team with a good running back. I don't disagree. That's why Miles Sanders is a huge pickup. But again, he made guys like Wes Welker Pro Bowlers. How many Wes Welkers have you seen since Tom Brady left the league? Not very many. Texas said, I don't think Thielen is the wide receiver one. It seems more like Chark, TMJ, and Mingo will be competing to be wide receiver 1 and 2, and wide receiver 2, while Thielen will be the supplemental wide receiver. I mean, again, I would like to think that's the choice. But until DJ Chark can play multiple games without busting his ankle up, I got to assume Thielen's the guy you lean on. Texas said Chase Elliott will win the Chicago street race. Oh, we're talking about that. I am pumped for that, without a doubt. Dan, the keep pounding man, says Thielen is still a good tool, but also a great vet to mold new talent. I agree. And he's very valuable. I'm not saying he's not valuable to the team. He is, but he's valuable as a Y wide receiver, not the X wide receiver. Let's take a break. When we come back, it's Thursday. You know what that means. It's time for Fight Club with the great man Lonzo. We talk MMA. We talk boxing. We might talk some money in the bank, but you know we're going to hammer down on the greatest MMA fight of all time, Musk v. Zuck. It's all coming up on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Gables.
All right, guys, got a live read. Stay there. We'll be back with Fight Club. All right, boys and girls, we back. I am not going to, unfortunately, be able to make it up to the U.S. game in Charlotte Sunday. The Madre and the nephew are coming up for a few days. So I'll be hanging out with them, which I'm very excited about.
Welcome into the Fight Club, where I just ain't feeling like no metaphors or anything. Just get in my face. I'm just going to punch you. It's the Eddie Kingston approach. I don't like Eddie Kingston, but it's the Eddie Kingston approach.
I like it.
All right, so let's jump right into this because we got a lot of stuff to get to. Zuckerberg versus Elon Musk. All right, so when we were talking about this yesterday, it's like, well, who's going to train who? And then I heard this on another show on our sister station. I was like, wait, what? Tara was talking about how, because she's a big UFC fan, was talking about how George St. Pierre is training Elon Musk and offered to do it. And I've looked it up, and there's already pictures of the training happening. So George St. Pierre, very famous UFC fighter,
sure,
one of the best of all time, is training Elon Musk. So the question is, does Zuckerberg need any training? Because there's been a couple guys offering to train Zuckerberg, including John Jones. And so who do you think does better training, George St. Pierre or John Jones? Yeah, I know John Jones technically undefeated, but for this style of fight, you got a light heavyweight or now heavyweight in John Jones, if he does indeed train Zuckerberg, training a little guy to fight a bigger guy. And I don't know that a guy who's been the big guy all his life can train a little guy to fight that way.
Well, John Jones is underappreciated for his ability
Cocaine
to fight on
use.
I love Coke.
Yes.
Coca-Cola. He is underappreciated for his ability to fight on the ground, right? Everybody, I think a lot of people look at John Jones and they see John Jones, the stand-up fighter, the striker, the kicker, of which he's a great one, but underappreciated ability to take the fight to the ground and succeed. It's interesting to me because this fight, if it happens, appears to be...
Hey, you're not training if you're not doing something, more than likely. And even though Elon's mom says it's not happening,
God, I hope
Elon's oh, she did say it.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, but Elon's a grown man.
We'll see.
And
You got Zuck, who is, from what I understand, it turns out a very accomplished jiu-jitsu fighter.
Been winning some tournaments and stuff lately. Yeah.
Very accomplished jiu-jitsu fighter, which means Zuck obviously wants to get, if it happens, Elon Musk to the ground and out-grapple him.
But is it like on A Knight's Tale when they realize that the prince is across from them and all those people withdraw from actually jousting because they don't, it's the future king of their country.
I don't think
so. So do they look at Zuckerberg and go, oh, no, I got to let him win?
That's a good question. I'm going to go no, because the notoriety
or has money changed hands a little bit? Like, hey, this is a nice gym. It could be nicer if I won this tournament.
I'm going to go, I don't think so. I mean, it's not impossible. I'm going to go to think so. He's, from what I understand, because I also saw that there were a couple of MMA mentors and coaches that have come out and be like, he actually is a pretty good jiu-jitsu artist, right? So Zuck's going to want to get in on the ground. Elon's going to want to avoid that at all costs, and Elon's going to want to take advantage of a pretty decent size advantage. He's got to buy a few inches and a couple dozen pounds. Well, a dozen pounds or so.
Yeah, it's more than a dozen.
So he is going to want to he's going to want to stand up. What I find interesting about this, Georges St. Pierre is one of the most well-rounded champions of all time. There was very few holes in the game of Georges St. Pierre. That's why he was around so long. You couldn't just outstrike him or outgrapple him. You had to beat him at all facets of the game. He could attack your weakness. So I think it's interesting because I would think if I'm Elon, I'm not going to learn enough jiu-jitsu to be able to go toe-to-toe with Zuck.
Just got to learn how to counter.
5, 6 months.
That's all you got to do. Learn how to counter.
Don't you focus on striking? Don't you focus on standing up? Don't you avoiding takedowns, keeping the fight on your feet, keeping distance, landing power strikes, in which case St. Pierre's probably not the guy I go with. But at the same time, Elon's a dude that thinks that Elon is the smartest dude in every situation. Does his ego come into play? Yeah. I can catch up with Zuck's jujitsu ability in 6 months and be ready to go.
I love how you say that, like Zuckerberg's not that guy too. Because they're both that guy. They're both that guy. They both have egos. They both believe that they're the smartest guy in the room. And I think what it comes down to, if you have two equal intellects in the octagon, it's going to come down to who has the most power and who has the height and weight advantage. That's why you got to go with Elon Musk. Now, if they were both the same size, I would look at it differently because of the fact that Zuckerberg has been fighting and allegedly winning. But they're not the same size. And
no, they're clearly not.
And they're not going to fix that part of it. So I got to go with Musk. And you're probably not going to change my mind on that. But I do agree that maybe you work on your striking, because I just feel like Zuckerberg gets punched in the face, he's going to cry. But that's just me. That's just me.
That's fair. Jiu-jitsu does not involve striking. It does not involve punches to the face. And as who was it, General Patton once said, we all got to play until we get punched in the face. If Elon can land a couple of gloves on the chin of Zuck before Zuck can get him to the ground, Zuck may think twice about trying to sneak in there and get a leg take.
All Elon has to do is have the look in his eyes that Gunther had in his eyes when I asked him if he'd ever chopped someone so hard that they cried. And then he held his answer back. But if you were looking in his eyes like I was, and the smile that came across his face, that's all Musk has to do. You punch Zuckerberg in the nose a couple of times, he's going to fold. I just think he will.
And I liked it.
All right. Quickly, before we get to WWE, Sting, please stop. Please, would you please? I mean, your fans, your lifelong fans, you're my favorite wrestler of all time. Please stop. Last night, a ladder in the ring. Sting climbs up on top of said ring, jumps out on top of Sammy, who's on a table outside the ring. One of those tables was clearly broken. The leg part was broke, and they could barely get the thing to stand up. It's like Darby was getting ready to do it, and Sting climbs up the ladder and says, "No, let me. You're 60-something years old, dude. Please stop. Please stop. I do not want to see this guy die in the ring."
I don't either.
And he thanked.
From what I understand, he's got to get some stitches. Like he got busted.
Yeah,
up pretty
and
good.
he thanked Tony for giving him the opportunity and not putting restraints on him and allowing him to do it. Okay, all right. I'm not the only one. Every time he does something like this, the internet goes crazy going, "Please stop, Sting." And is that fueling him more than it's deterring him? Maybe he's looking at it like, you don't tell me. Just stop. All right, let's get to WWE. Before we get to Money in the Bank, there are two championship matches on SmackDown. First of all,
big show Friday night.
Well, here's what I think they're doing. I think they're doing a double show, basically.
Yeah.
And so Charlotte versus Asuka for the title. Charlotte walks back in the room and she wins the title almost every time.
Yeah, almost every time. It's the same old story, same old song and dance, my friend.
Except for, I don't know if she does that against Asuka this time.
I actually agree with you. I think this is one time she fails. I'm intrigued to see where they go with it because basically Charlotte has
Bianca Belair is where they go with it. Bianca didn't get her shot. They've been building something where, and Pierce is like, whoever wins, you're going to get. And she's like, I'm going to have to take things into my own hands. So Bianca is the person that's going to do something, but who does she cause to win?
It's a good question, dude. Good question. I don't know where they go with this one. I didn't see the need to bring Charlotte back in, with the exception of, I think we're about to get a Bianca heel turn.
Yeah, and this will facilitate that.
Yeah, I think Bianca's going to turn. I think Bianca prevents Charlotte from winning so that she can take her belt back from Asuka. That's going to be my call.
See, but if you want to go heel versus face, then Charlotte technically is the baby face right now, and Asuka is the heel. So you want Charlotte to win so that Bianca can face Charlotte.
I mean, do I?
I don't care either way. I mean, it's going to be a good match no matter how that goes. But I'm going to go with Charlotte winning.
Okay.
For
that
reason, for Bianca Belair. The other championship match on Friday Night SmackDown will be Pretty Deadly, yes boy, versus Sammy and KO for the tag team titles.
I think Sammy and KO hang on for now. The interesting part is, as I pointed out to you yesterday,
they're in the UK and Pretty Deadly from the UK.
Correct. And they don't have a match scheduled for Money in the Bank right now. So could we see a dirty win from the Yes Boys tonight so they can do a little celebrating in front of their hometown, followed by a rematch clause caught out on Saturday where Sammy and KO take their belts right back?
All right, a lot of work being done between Imperium and Sammy and KO. Wouldn't shock me if Imperium doesn't interfere in some way.
That's fair.
And I don't know, who that helps. More than likely, but they're going to interfere. They absolutely will, because they've been coming out in each other's matches for the last few weeks.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, let's get to Money in the Bank. Speaking of Imperium, Intercontinental Championship match between Gunther, our friend Gunther, who's sitting right over there,
friend of the show,
versus everyone's bro, Matt Riddle.
Bro. Gunther wins. I don't even have to think about that. Gunther wins.
I still think they're putting Gunther up to go for bigger titles.
I don't disagree. Which one's available for him to insert himself in? Unless you insert him starting to chase down Roman, but you're not going to do that with Cody floating out there. You've got Finn and Seth. That one can go on another round, which I really like, by the way, with the reemergence of Brutal Finn. Big fan. Going for switching shows and going for Theory's belt is just a lateral move. There's really no point there.
Theory, does he still wrestle?
Allegedly.
Because we haven't seen him in a while.
Allegedly.
That's what I'm saying. I believe Gunther wins, but if he doesn't, it will be because more of that KO Sammy, the back and forth between those two guys, those two teams.
What if they both cost each other
belts?
Yeah. I don't hate that.
And Gunther has wrestled both of them individually the last couple of weeks. So, all right, Cody Rhodes versus that criminal, Dominic Mysterio.
Dom wins for two. Dom wins via interference, predominantly because it pushes Cody further down the hard time.
And who interferes? Does Brock Lesnar come out so they can set up SummerSlam? Or
that's a good call. I didn't think about that. It's a good call. I didn't think about that. I was thinking
because you're in England and you want a big draw. I mean,
there's two plays here. Well, you can't count Brock as a draw because he's not advertised as being there, so that's not a draw.
You throw out some rumors right before, or,
maybe. I think there's two ways you do it. You either have Brock do it, and it sets up your SummerSlam run between the two of them for Cody to get his win back, or you have Rhea do it. We've been playing this angle for a minute. You have Rhea do it, and guess who all of a sudden is there to step in so that you finally have...
She's a fine girl.
Brandy. So this could be the debut of Brandy to show up.
If you get that reference, you're my age, or you watch Guardians of the Galaxy.
Looking Glass, baby!
WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match between Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler and Raquel. Why can't I say Raquel? Yeah, maybe it's because I can't roll my R's, even though I want to. So Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan. I think you got to keep the belts on Rousey and Baszler. You absolutely do.
They do nothing for me. Ronda Rousey's just not good at this. I'm sorry. She's just not good at it. For somebody who has the background and athletic ability that she does, she's just not good at it. So I think you flip it back over. Liv Morgan's a crowd favorite. I don't understand. I understand Raquel in that she is an Amazon. Gorgeous, but an Amazon. I don't like what's her character? I flex my back. Like, that's it. I don't get that.
That really bothers you. I don't know why that bothers you, but it does.
Because, Lonzo, if I was to walk out
Hey,
and
look,
ring,
it's either I'm posing my back or I'm posing for a picture.
you know, in Little Giants, when the one dorky kid with the big glasses started doing all the poses in the mirror,
Well, yeah,
that's Raquel.
should be talking about my mama.
Rhea comes out and flexes in a mirror. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, World Heavyweight Championship match between Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. I wish Finn would win this. He's not going to. All this buildup, and he's not going to win this. They're going to keep the belt on Seth because he's only had it for a couple of weeks.
I do not disagree with you.
Could be match of the night, though.
Will be match of the night. This is going to be a banger. It's going to be an absolute banger.
I don't know. The Civil War might be better, but we'll see.
We will. I think it's going to be a banger, though.
All right, speaking of the Civil War, let's jump on that real quick. The Usos versus Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. The Usos have to win this, don't they?
I don't know.
Or does Roman get one back for being kicked in the face?
I don't know.
Twice.
I think I'm picking the Usos here. I think I'm leaning with the Usos. I think they do have to get one here, unless Roman. And I think the storyline ends with Roman snapping, right? Unless this is the event that they decide to have Roman go full on sociopath, I think the Usos win. If Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa win, it is going to be like a win v disqualification because they're just beating the Usos bloody and the ref tries to stop it and they won't stop. I think you could have it go that direction, but I'm going to slightly lean the Usos.
All right, men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Ricochet, Shinsuke, Escobar, Butch, LA Knight, Damian Priest, and Logan Paul. I mean, the two clear favorites in this are Logan Paul or LA Knight. And will they let Logan Paul win this so it can cash in and probably lose, but maybe win the belt? He is the first, one of the few celebrities that you could see win the belt and it would look legitimate. Him, Bad Bunny winning a belt, I could see that. Or McAfee winning some sort of belt, I could see that. It's set up to look like Logan Paul is going to win this, but how many matches does Logan Paul actually win when he wrestles? Oh man, this is a hard choice. I'm gonna go with Logan Paul to win though.
As I have told you multiple times, I am beyond frustrated with how good of a professional wrestler Logan Paul is. It's frankly infuriating that he's as good as he is because I want him to not be that, but he is. It is what it is. That being said, there is, I think, a recognized growth recently in the public notice of LA Knight. Yeah. And I think you're right. It comes down to those two. If you put it on Logan, all you're doing is running Logan v. Seth back. Do you want that again?
Yeah, that was a pretty good match.
Okay. I mean, if you want that again, that makes perfect sense.
I haven't seen the guy have a bad match.
You're again, infuriatingly talented. I hate it. I hate how good he is.
All right, really quick, women's Money in the Bank match. Zelina, Becky Lynch, Bayley, Io Sky, Trish, and Zoe Stark. They need to not put this on Becky because it's the same 3 or 4 women winning the championship every single time. Need some new blood in there, or maybe some really old blood. My pick is Zoe Stark helps Trish Stratus win the Money in the Bank match.
I am going to go Io Sky somehow gets Bayley and ends up winning it.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be down for that too.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go Io Sky in that one. I'm going to go Io Sky, and I'm going to go LA Knight. Yeah! But I'm not going to lie. That's a personal pick. That's just who I want to win. Yeah! We got to go to break. Yeah! All right, we got to go to break. We're back after this to wrap up the show. I'm Rob Heaslonzo. This is the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Yeah! 3 months of promos between Seth and LA Knight. Sign me up. Sign me up.
Yeah, but if Vince is really in charge, LA Knight is not going to win. Because according to reports, he doesn't get him. So, I mean,
well, that's why Vince is better at his job.
I can care less about his age. I mean, so what? I just talked about Sting jumping off at that 60-something years old.
Calm down, makeup grandpa. Goth grandpa.
Just stop doing it. Gotta stop.
People per day. Download the Odyssey app and search the fan upstage, then listen anywhere on your phone. I'm Matt Pauly.
Yeah, but in this case, Joe, Logan Paul's pretty good, man. I don't have the hatred for him like Rob does, but I don't think it would hurt the business that much if he did it. Maybe you set it up where Logan and LA Knight are the last two on the ladder. And somehow Logan Paul wins. So you can set up a feud between those two after Logan Paul wins the belt from whoever he takes it from, which would be Seth. All right, I'm just going to tell you this because I know why all this is trending, but white women is trending, and I'm not putting that on there. Because affirmative action basically was just voted down in the Supreme Court. But so all these different things are popping up, but just white women just stands out for because where are the white women at? Blazing Saddles. And anytime you get a chance to quote Blazing Saddles, the clean part.
Where are the white women at?
The clean part that you can actually.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Yeah, but this is my shooting hand.
Somebody get a boatload of dimes.
That's not what he said, but yeah, that works. Well, no, actually, in the vernacular of the show, you are correct. Hey, Mr. Taggart, can me and the boys get some more beans?
Mongo just pawn in Game of Life.
Oh, Bart.
We were at I don't remember, dinner or something a while back, and it was me and Courtney and one of her friends and their husband. It's the first time I met the guy. And we started just what we just did, just quoting movies back and forth. And every time somebody would quote, we'd laugh hysterically. And at some point they looked over and his wife was like, you guys have entertained yourself for 30 minutes, not even talking, just saying movie lines. And I'm like, yeah, it's awesome, isn't it?
That's, yeah.
Isn't it?
Been doing that my entire life. I don't.
Yeah. Look at Joey B with a long-term fantasy booking.
Well, because while you were out of the room, I was saying that I could see Logan Paul and LA Knight being the last two on the ladder.
Yeah.
And that's setting up something for later on.
That's fair.
Logan Paul wins the belt from Seth, and then LA Knight gets his revenge by winning it from Logan Paul.
This afternoon, air quality alert and hot high of 91.
Weather brought to you by Indeed. Breaking the sweat over summer staffing needs. Indeed's powerful hiring platform helps you easily attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
From the Ingles Market Studio.
Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Always live from the Free Odyssey app. CBS
Tackle.
I was about to do the full intro.
All right.
I was about to do the full intro.
Full disclosure, I'm in a lot of pain and didn't sleep a lot last night. It finally got me near the end of the show. All right, time for Twitter trending topics. Really, that's what we're doing. The first thing that's trending is Nutty Buddy.
Nutty Buddies are under. I'm going to say they're underappreciated, and I don't think I have purchased one in years. They're good. If somebody offers me one, I'm 100% taking it.
All right. So the reason why this is trending is one of those things where someone throws it up on Twitter. What is the best Little Debbie product?
Oh, the best Little Debbie. My initial jump is a Swiss roll. I love a Swiss roll.
That's very old man. It really is.
Old man is oatmeal pie.
Yeah, you're
Oatmeal
right.
pie
You're
is-
right, but the Swiss cake is like right there, right next. It's got to be.
I'm going to tell. All right, so I'm going to tell you what goes on my list that is frustrating because it's only available occasionally. The Christmas trees when they come out. Bang, Steven with the game winner. The Christmas trees are up towards the top. Star Crunch.
I was gonna say,
if they come out of the freezer.
I got to go with Star Crunch. Dude, how hard is it to eat a Star Crunch out? It's already hard to eat them anyway. So you put them in the freezer.
Oh, they're the best.
You like
When they're
gnaw on
nice
it
and
like a
crispy.
dog, just
Oh,
on the
it's good.
side of your mouth. Just no.
There are two that nobody lists. All right. The two that nobody lists that absolutely deserve to be up there are the birthday cake sticks, which are perfect, and the fudge round. The fudge round. It's just chocolate with
Fudge
some more
round-
chocolate
fudge
with-
round's
between some
good.
chocolate. Fudge
Fudge-
round's up towards the top.
Fudge round is good, but Nutty Buddy is my favorite.
You know what we might do next week? We might draft Little Debbie's.
I think that's already been done. But if you want to do that,
Not
that's
on this
fine.
show.
You're right. The next thing is trending is Fight Forever.
AEW's video game Fight Forever, I believe it finally drops
Today.
this week. Today.
Yes.
Today. I don't know, man. Like it's obviously a very cartoony take on a wrestling video game, which is fine. I got no problem with it being kind of cartoony. I've just seen a lot of stuff popping up and down that I'm like, all right, it looks a lot glitchy. It looks like there's some again, I don't mind goofy. Wrestling is goofy by default. It's supposed to be fun and goofy. I got no problem with it being kind of a cartoony, almost comic booky take on the whole thing. It just, I don't know. I'm an AW guy, but it doesn't grab me.
You know what this says? This says, yeah, WWE is so realistic. We're going to go to the opposite of it and give it a nostalgic feel, and maybe that will, so it doesn't look like we're copying.
Well,
That's what
listen,
I think.
I think if AEW was to, first off, WWE's got their contract. Who makes 2K? Is it EA still or whoever?
I believe so. Yes.
Whoever makes 2K has a wildly bigger budget than the company, I can't remember the name of it, that AEW went through. So you kind of had to go a little bit low budget, which means you need to go a little bit fantastico. And that's what they did. It just doesn't grab me yet, though. We'll see. People are going to start putting their playthroughs up. We'll watch. Tecker says, Rob, fan, double-decker fudge round. Number 1 overall pick. Specifically the double-decker. Texture says Christmas trees are the same size as a zebra cake. I know, but they're just a different taste. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for us. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. We're back tomorrow to do it all over again, but better on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later, brother.
So the Christmas tree just has like some decorations on it that are
It's
different.
got the little sprinkle crispies on the top.
Yeah.
And I think the cake on the inside is slightly different.
No, I
Slightly
don't.
different.
I don't know about that. I think it's the same cake, but we're just going to have to get both and like cut them open and look. I suppose.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter
If you really would have
free at ZipRecruiter.
wanted to sound old, you would have went with Dunkin' Sticks. That makes you feel old. They're not bad though. They're basically just donuts.
Said Christmas trees are upgraded zebra cakes. That is correct. And do you know what the worst part of this conversation is for me right now? I just want to go eat some Little Debbie's now. And I'm not going to. I'm not. Donut sticks are solid. I stick with the birthday sticks. Of the sticks, the birthday sticks are the best sticks. I stand by that. I'll go to that hill. All right. Thanks for hanging out with us, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll do it again tomorrow on a Friday, which means it's going to get weird. Can't wait. Have a good one. Goodbye.